4020.
Welcome. It says it's recording, so hopefully it is. It's the 4020 Christmas show. It's action-packed. Ian Boldsworth's on. Phil's dad, Geoff's on. But we start in a bit Martin Kelner turns up. But first, from the past, in the future, it's James Simpson.
Sticky toffee
Sticky
pudding.
sticky toffee pudding.
You don't tell me you're not a fan. Walnut whips you don't like. Sticky toffee pudding in don't like. We've got
Party rings and salted caramel
that.
crunch creams. I mean, this is going to sound great on the podcast.
Why do you have to get fancy biscuits? Just get a biscuit.
because it's Christmas.
It's Christmas.
This is the Christmas.
I'm a simple guy, mate. Get me a rich tea, and then I'm set.
Nah.
Rich teas. None of this.
So happy Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
To you and yours.
Yeah, which is me. A couple of dogs.
2 dogs.
And, my missus.
The lovely Josie.
She's working today. Grafting.
Should we pretend it's Christmas Day, even though I'm probably going to put this out on Monday or something?
We can pretend anything because it's
We
Christmas.
can pretend anything. Hey, yes, we can't do this
I
in
am
July.
going straight from here to the Rhino's Christmas do.
Wow.
So it is Christmas.
Right.
What's
And
the
do you expect to be named Employee of the Year or Department of the Year?
That's happened. That's all done. That was at the big club award ceremony like 2 months ago.
Right. So you were Employee of the Year.
No, sadly not. No.
Team of the Year?
No.
The only one that won any silverware.
Well, Rugby League is the real winner. That's the
Well,
answer, innit?
that's James Simpson's here.
Hi.
World Cup winner. You're on that documentary I wrote about.
Yeah.
Employee of the Month.
Employee of the
What,
month.
what did I say? Please wake up in Birmingham. Is that what you said?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That's
I quoted that directly. So that was good.
that's quite a. So that was in my when we were getting ready for the World Cup. Me, Amy, and John Bateman did those stuff for the sponsored drinks. Do you remember?
Right.
And we got like this fancy director in to make really cool videos about each of us, and that was like the name of that video that I did, and it was like Wake Up in Birmingham about me getting injured, and
I can't remember seeing those. Can you?
No. But then I can't remember
it was
why.
it was like Monster. It was Monster, but not Monster. It was like one of the spin-off.
Right.
Like on the back of this where it says egg now.
Yes.
It was like
it was the Monster sports drink, was it?
Yeah.
Not the fizzy one that I drink all the time.
I can't remember what it was called. It was Rain. Rain. REI. Not.
So you're back because you were the guest that most viewers, both of them, wanted to see again. So you're
I don't believe that's
Starman.
We're going to say that to everyone.
Yeah, you
of
should
course
do.
we
Yeah.
are. Of course we are. It's the season to be.
Why?
Yeah.
And I'm the closest.
You have no. Well, yes, probably.
And I was coming to pick up a book for Christmas.
Well, there is that as well. But so let's pretend
Okay.
that it's just been announced.
Yeah.
That Super League's being expanded next year.
Well, that got announced a few months ago.
Yeah, we knew that.
The teams that are going to be in it.
I'll check to see if it has been announced.
Well, in the
It
realms
hasn't been
of
announced.
Yeah.
where we are,
Yeah.
it's been announced.
Oh my god. Yeah.
So
Leeds are in.
Leeds are in.
Congratulations.
Cheers, yeah.
Congratulations. Well done.
Yeah, this year 8 teams. I was a big proponent of going down to 4 teams or 5 teams at the time. Make the competition really tight, enhance it a bit. Like we kind of called it the NRLW model, where they went really tight and then expanded. I was a big fan of that. We did that. It worked really well. And now it's time to like implode and explode and get a few more clubs in that have seen the level you need to be at in Super League, know what it takes off field more than on field to sustain yourself, and 3 new clubs coming in.
Who are?
The big one, which I've got a personal investment in, Edinburgh Giants.
Which is great for the sport.
It's fantastic.
Another country.
Yeah. Only been going 2 years. Capital city, one of the capital cities of the country. Martin Gill, ex-Leeds coach, he led the foundations of what Leeds are today. He's taken over in 2 years. They've gone from strength to strength. He's got charity status, so they've got like a good way of getting investment in there, and loads of sponsors, loads of backers. It's absolutely fantastic to see.
And
like
he's going to help the national team.
He's now the head coach of the Scotland team as well. And he's a really good coach. I learned a lot from him. Still do. And
there is no running rugby.
No.
I mean, there are Edinburgh Eagles who we know are in the
Yeah.
Challenge Cup, but there isn't, the opportunity to promote the sport in the same way that the Giants are going to do.
No, and them being separate from like Edinburgh Eagles as well means they can do things like get charity status, so they can get that extra money and funding and support and stuff.
So who's their first game in their introduction to the competition?
Their first game is against Leeds Rhinos.
Hey!
Have the fixtures been released as well?
Oh yeah, the
right.
fixtures have just been released as well.
Yeah.
Defending champions.
Just been released.
Well,
So
I hope they've just been released. If not, this bit will need to.
Well,
edit.
no. But that's a baptism of fire for them. But
Yeah,
what a great
yeah.
opportunity to promote that as your first game.
Away to Edinburgh for us, and we're all buzzing. Like, this has obviously been announced today, but we've known for ages, like the players, everyone involved. You know, you've all known, you all get excited about it. Yeah, trip up to Edinburgh to face. It's interesting facing our former coach, like my mentor, the coach who kind of started us as a club down on this path. So all I need to do is beat him, and then I can. It's like the Highlander. I can be only one. Like, I can beat him, and then I can retire from wheelchair rugby totally. I've done it.
I mean, I asked Danica the other week, could she get us some tickets for the President's Ball? Because she might be able to. Is there any room on the bus? Can we get to Edinburgh?
I'll have to speak to the foundation about the bus. That's out of my
Phil,
pay
can you
grade.
get us on the bus?
Yeah, we'll get on the bus.
That's out of my pay grade, the bus. So, Edinburgh,
Yep.
massive thing.
Next one.
Sheffield Eagles.
I know where to get to Sheffield, that's all.
Yeah.
Who've gone about this the right way? Grown organically as a club. Obviously, a lot of events are hosted at the English Institute of Sport.
Where we had the Challenge
in
Cup
that
final.
city. So
In 2019, we had the Challenge Cup final on the pitch they play on. I'm a big fan of them, and I see a lot of parallels of us years ago. Like when we started off and we were going through our journey at Leeds and gradually got better and better and lost two finals and then won our first. I see a lot of us in Sheffield, and I feel like they're going from strength to strength, really well kind of supported behind the scenes, the foundation, the structure, the club and everything. And that, like I said, that's just as important, if not more important at times. But yeah, they're going to be there. I'm really excited about that.
another major city.
Yeah, won the championship.
And I think realistic enough to know that at the beginning they're probably going to take some hammerings from the more experienced clubs.
Yeah.
But they've had that in all throughout their existence, and they're set for just growing.
Yeah, and it's got to be off field as well. Like there is teams I think in the championship that they could play tomorrow and they might lose, but those teams won't have the sustainability or the off field backing and kind of the gravitas that comes with what they're bringing to the league. And I think they're a really exciting club to come. I think them and Edinburgh are two really exciting clubs, and it just shows now the footprint is we've got Capital City in the north and Capital City in the south. Just need to get Cardiff in, and then is Cardiff Capital Wales?
It is.
There you go. Just need to get Cardiff in, and then we're on.
And the 8th team,
Warrington Wolves, returning to the Super League.
the returning one.
Yeah, they came in Super League way too early. They came in the year after the World Cup, before we decided to shrink. So, and it's, you know what it's like when the World Cup was finished. It was end of November. You can't prepare things for the next season that fast in an off season. You just can't do it in sport. It's too big, too complicated. So they were in Super League 2023. I think, yeah, they were, and they just got obliterated on field, but off field they were fantastic. Do you know the communication, the structure, the foundation? They were brilliant, and you could see they're really well supported. But on field, they weren't there yet. So hopefully now they're at the stage where they can be the whole package.
And again, a club whose hierarchy
Yeah,
is geared up to this one club mentality and won't suffer from a lack of resources. We've seen that they're rebuilding their women's team a little bit, changed the coach there. Wheelchair probably was a little bit outside of...
Yeah, I think they tried to do it too fast and without going on the journey that other clubs have been on, and I feel like they've had that bit of a journey now, and then they can come back into the fold.
Excellent. So, excited about?
I'm very excited. The sticking point is about it, as far as I'm aware, is Warrington have been deferred a year, so they're coming in. What year are we in now?
2026.
As soon as
the
you get
World Cup
soon as
is
you
a
get
year
into
late,
Christmas-
it's confused
As soon as you
everything.
get into Christmas and New Year, my brain just things out. Like I don't. Yeah, so they've been deferred a year, which is a bit unfair on Edinburgh and Sheffield because they're losing a competitive game. Like coming in there, Sheffield and Edinburgh's most competitive game, realistically, is going to be against each other. Not having Warrington there for that extra year removes a competitive game for those two teams. So they're just going to have to, like we said, when they play the top teams, they're just going to have to. That's what it is. But then when they play each other, they're really going to have to get out.
But then the league's going to split, isn't it?
Yeah.
Later in the season, so the top 4 will play off for the honours, and then the remaining teams will at least have competitive games to end their season.
Yeah. But on the flip side, like it is a disappointing for that we haven't got this 8 team we said we were going to have. However, it does give Warrington that year to like use that. That's an opportunity to be like, we are 100% joining Super League on this date. Are you a player at another club that is a Warrington fan? Are you a fringe player that maybe doesn't get the game time you want? Come to this club because we will be in Super League. So yes, they've been deferred a year and it has a knock-on effect on the rest of the league. However, if they use that to their advantage, when they do come in the league, there should be a lot of a stronger team for it.
Get Luke Littler in a chair. He's from Warrington. He's famous.
Didn't endear himself at the sports personality.
Well, what did he do? I didn't watch it. I was going to keep saying this, so when I write about it in the magazine, people think, hey, hang on a minute.
His modesty did not become in.
He's a darts player.
He is the man who has reinvented darts himself, just him.
Do people not remember what Phil Taylor was like?
Yeah, but I think he'd achieved some stuff.
He won the Grand Slam and something.
But anyway.
But yeah, get him in a chair, why not?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think that's the thing with Warrington, is that a bit like Leeds, a bit like Wigan, that one club kind of mentality they've got going on. That is something that might happen. It won't put it past. He's been involved in Warrington. You'd be like, I won't put that past not happening. I'd be like, that could happen, like on a media event or in a one club event, and he's there. Do it
Internationally.
What about it?
Mid-season international.
I don't know anything about it.
Like, there is a mid-season.
Yeah, well, I hear stuff. I hear a lot. You hear a lot, but until you see it like black and white and it's confirmed, I don't believe anything until I see it in black and white.
England going to Australia at the end of the year. Are they? It's not been confirmed. It's on the plan.
I don't know. So we have to disclaimer. It's not been announced. Like nothing's been announced.
No, we're just merely speculating.
Yeah,
in the same way that the men's running game.
Yeah.
We think the Ashes are going to be.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
So the wheelchair game, the Ashes is supposedly still going to be over there.
Supposedly.
Yes.
Supposedly.
You're sceptical.
I'm sceptical. I'm sceptical with a lot of things, and it's not a dig at us.
No.
It's a dig at. This is an amateur sport. You've got a lot of disabled athletes, wheelchairs, kit equipment. Doesn't have loads of money.
Yet.
I don't believe anything until I see it on paper.
And you're absolutely right, because the history of the sport says we've promised a lot and under-delivered.
Yeah, and I've got excited about things in the past when I was still a player, especially in my career, that didn't materialise. So I'm very, and I want all this to happen. I want the guys to go to Australia and play. I want them to play here, play there. But until I see it in black and white, I don't get excited about it.
So are we allowed to talk about what you're doing?
You can do whatever you want, mate.
As well as being the leading coach in wheelchair rugby league in terms of qualifications.
Well, yeah.
You can't deny that.
No, that was...
where have you been trying your hand recently?
Yeah, do you want the long story or the short story?
But it's your time, so you know.
So after the World Cup, the GB wheelchair rugby guys, the Paralympic version, got in touch with me about going over to wheelchair rugby, and I met up with them about 6 months after the World Cup. Really good guys, really good people, about like a talent transfer pathway to switch over to GB wheelchair rugby. And we
murder ball, as we like.
Yeah, well, that's what it used to be called. I still can't call it that. But we decided between us to wait until Paris was done and dusted, because if you go in there a year and a half from Paris, you're not going to make it. You're not going to make the squad. So, yeah, this month I went on my first. So Paris was done and dusted. I went on my first GB training camp with the Paralympic team. And it's still very much a selection process, like very early doors for me. Like I'm going into a whole new sport, a whole new set of like tactics and the way to do things and that. But my first training camp a couple of weeks ago, and up until March there's two training camps a month. And then at the end of March they'll pick like a long squad to compete.
So this is playing. This is
playing. Yeah. Going back to playing.
Which doesn't affect in any way the wheelchair rugby league.
No, not at all.
Could be a dual code World Cup winner.
Yeah, and I'm going into it with the mindset of, as I want to make LA. I want to go to the Paralympics in 4 years' time. I'm not doing it for like I want to compete at the top, and I want to bring everything I've done in 10 years of playing in wheelchair rugby league into this new sport. And going into the training camp with like some of those guys who were Paralympic champions, they've competed all over the world, some of the best players in the world. It was fantastic, and I was out of my depth quite a bit, but not in a really bad way, in like a really good way to learn. But they were fantastic with me, and my whole journey started in 2012 when I was going through rehab, going to the copper box and watching wheelchair basketball, and then thinking to myself, I could play a wheelchair sport here. Like, wheelchairs are sporting equipment the same as a kayak or a set of skis, or like, I could do this. And that's how I started playing wheelchair rugby league. So if I could get full cycle to a Paralympic Games, that's for me is the full. Like I played at the Copper Box in the World Cup, which was another milestone going back to that first wheelchair basketball day. If I can go all the way full circle and play in a Paralympics, it's going to be hard work, and I know how hard it's going to be, and it's going to be even harder coming totally new to the sport. But I'm really loving the challenge, and it's fantastic.
Can you bring any of them over?
The difference is, yeah, you could, but
Some relying on you to.
yeah, the classification system. So so I'm probably one of the least disabled people competing in GB wheelchair, where in wheelchair rugby league I'm probably one of the most disabled people, to use like a weird like spectrum. But in that sport, I am a high pointer versus I'm like one of the least disabled. So it's weird from going from one sport to the most disabled to a sport where I'm the least disabled. So it'd be tricky. And in the GB squad, that is what you do. So if you make the GB squad, you get paid or sponsored paid, and then that is basically your job. You make the GB squad, that is what you do for a living then. Yeah.
Because there's only a certain number of points you're allowed on the pitch.
Yeah, 8. You can have 8, and I'm like a 3 or a 3.5. But so you can, and sometimes you have 2 really high pointers on, and it's basically up to you guys to do most of the heavy lifting. And the low pointers will play quite a defensive role, or like inbounding and things like that.
But it's also position specific.
Yeah.
So if you are a low pointer, there's things that you are expected to be able to do.
Absolutely.
It's Christmas. Anybody can join in.
Anyone can join.
You're right, good to see you.
Do you want to sit here and I'll spin round?
Oh,
No,
Have you met before?
No, I don't think
Don't
we
think we
have.
have, no.
James Simpson,
Nice to meet
World
you.
Cup.
No, that was
wheelchair
2
winner.
years ago. Don't
No,
worry about
he's
it.
a rugby league.
Do you want to
World
sit here?
Cup
Because I've sat here for
wheelchair
20
winner,
minutes.
coach of the winning Leeds
Oh,
rider.
brilliant. Oh, it's good to meet
Just
you.
one of the
Just don't sit
superstars of rugby
Do you
league.
want to swap? I've sat here for 20 minutes.
No, we didn't swap.
when are you off to the? When are you going to go to the Leeds Christmas party?
Oh, in like 40 minutes.
40 minutes.
Oh well, it's a four-hander.
You
We can now have a.
Did we say 11 o'clock or 11:30? I can't remember.
So we'll-
Come out
Christmas.
right.
So we
It's all
can
in the edit anyway.
Yeah,
we
well,
can
yeah,
we can
well,
now have a game of bridge.
I'm waiting.
It's a four-hander. Except you're not envisioned. So
It's
you
all right.
have to-
I'll move the.
So, yeah, that. So, what have we covered there?
I know, I'm being not
Internationals,
envisioned.
GB.
I'm there. Oh, there we are. There.
Because the other thing,
Because we're not live yet anyway, so it's.
you've advocated a move to winter for wheelchair rugby league to fill that gap.
Yeah,
So the wheelchair rugby Premier League,
yeah,
primed for 2026 start,
yeah.
is going to fill that gap.
It's only
But again, until you've seen it in writing or
until I've seen it in
confirmed,
writing,
it's not happening.
Yeah, I don't. Go for it. I'm not against any version of wheelchair rugby. Let's get it out there. Let's get it played. Until I see it in writing in black and white, I'm not going to get excited yet. However, that is down to be. I've seen a few different variations of it, and that's down to be like a week long, or 2 weeks long max, which isn't a winter season. That's 2 weeks. So myself, a lot of other coaches, I'm not going to name any of them because I don't want them to put their heads on the chopping block, and a lot of other players want to go to a winter season for wheelchair rugby league. And off the top of my head, it's like you're not competing against anything else rugby league wise. You know, you're not you're not clashing, you're not anything. A bit like university rugby, we lose players over summer because students go home. So then you're keeping your players consistently through the winter as well, and marries up with the French league. So the two French league, the English league and the French league, go concurrently together, finish at the same time, do the European Club Challenge at the end of both their seasons. So it would nicely fit together as a package instead of going over summer.
Are they coming here or are you going there?
Nobody knows. Until I see it in black and white, nobody knows.
Are we on yet, by the way?
Well, we've been on
we're
so.
kind of recording,
but-
kind
but
of. I
just-
don't really know how it's going to work.
We haven't opened the Fox's favourite
What biscuits would you
seasonal edition sticky toffee pudding biscuits. yet.
Oh, they're good.
Oh, have you had them?
No, I've never had them, but I've had the, the.
As far as I'm concerned, Martin's got material and we're just like.
It's like pulling a cracker, isn't it?
I've got what I would call minimal material, very minimal material.
Which sounds
I
a
do-
little bit like Swinton's performances. Like.
Very much so.
Well, we're waiting
I-
for our material to be announced, but it has announced.
Has it
Has
announced?
No,
No. Oh, no.
well, it has because we're in the future.
Yes. So that's why we're talking about the restructure of wheelchair rugby league.
Yeah.
It's
Right.
not announced until midday.
It gets announced,
Right.
yeah, midday today. So, but,
We're
but
pretending.
we all know it, so we're pretending it's been announced. Yeah, and
Even I know it.
yeah, everyone knows it, but nobody can
But
say
it's
what it is.
embargoed.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like the Manchester United team last week for the derby. It was on social network the night before, and
Which is good if you're betting on things.
Yeah.
Well, I don't even bet on the team. I got bloody done the other night back in West Ham to win against Bournemouth, and they were 1-0. Every match. These are, you might as well start watching on the 87th minute because all the goals come after that. It's ridiculous.
I was sat at work, Man City were 1-0 up, and I did some Greyhound commentary, turned around, and they were 2-1 down. What's going on?
It's unbelievable.
So you want David Moyes back then?
No, I don't. I like this guy. I'm enjoying the football. They had 50-50 possession with Bournemouth, and they had plenty of chances. They had equal chances, more goals on target, more shots on target. All right, we only drew, but I'll give him time.
You've been to Sports Personality of the Year, James, haven't you? Because you were on stage a couple of years ago.
Yeah, I went last year and the year before, yeah.
Oh,
Were you not invited this year, despite the fact you won something?
No. Last year I only went because I was on one of the panels.
But there were people invited.
Jodie and Tom were there. Yeah, Jodie was there with Wales and Tom was there with England. So yeah, Jodie.
You'd have written about sports personality.
In the old days, I would have done, yeah. And Wigan won an award. So, but I didn't.
30 years after the last time.
To be honest, I didn't watch it because I was watching the Beatles' 1964, which came out while I was away. It dropped. These days everything drops, doesn't it?
Is that what it's got?
It's dropped. So anyway, while I was away, it dropped. And I thought, I'd love to watch that. My daughter hasn't got Disney Plus in her package. So that's not in her cable package.
Even though she's in America, she hasn't got the Disney. I would have thought it'd be mandatory for anybody in America to have the Disney package.
You've still got to pay for it. So she's not, or Sky TV have not paid for it. So she's not got that. We've got Sky News, so I can watch Sky News in America.
Because she's on it.
Because she's on it. But she's not got the NBC soccer channels. Fortunately, my friend over there in LA who I was going to see, he's got the full football. He's a football fan, proper football. So he's got all the packages. So I watched West Ham 3 times while I was away. I watched them get mullered by Arsenal. I watched them win that match against Wolves. And in between, I watched them get beat by somebody else. And I can't remember who it was. But because they got all the football there. So
they love it in America, don't they?
They do. They do on those NBC packages. I've got one here.
Oh, they do smell nice.
So I watched all those matches on the NBC package, Peacock and all that sort of thing, which was fun. And at convenient times, because the first match against Arsenal was at 5:30 here, so there it was like 10 o'clock in the morning.
Breakfast with the Hammers.
Sorry, yeah.
Breakfast with the Hammers.
Indeed. And the second one was an 8 o'clock kickoff, so I watched that at midday. And then the third one against Wolves, he actually taped it for me because we went out for lunch. So I sat there at 2 o'clock in the afternoon watching.
Are you a fan of Adam Richman?
Yeah, he's the guy. I've been on fighting tour with him.
The food guy.
Yeah, the food guy. You may very well have written some gags for me when I was on fighting tour with me. He said, "I love the Phil Kaplan stuff. That's your best stuff."
Well, he does have a link to Leeds, to be honest, but he's just doing a new series about food at football grounds.
Oh yeah.
And this Monday he did West Ham.
Oh, did he?
Yes. So if you want to know where to eat before a game,
it's rubbish. I wouldn't eat anywhere near the ground.
Well, he found a couple of places.
Well, he says that. I mean, to be honest, the place to eat is the very old sort of pie and mash place, which is as Green Street goes up. It's on the left hand. If you walk down Green Street past Upton Park, it's on the left hand side on the bottom, and it's called something. I can't remember. I'm half asleep. I have to tell you.
That's fine.
Because,
that's why I got coffee on the way in.
Yeah, I don't blame you. I'm half asleep because I'm jet lagged. I don't know whether I'm ever going to get over this jet lag because I got home and immediately did my show on Friday overnight.
The most popular show in Kuala Lumpur.
It's been described as the most consistently funny show on British radio by me, actually.
Between 1 and 5 in the morning.
Between 1 and 5 in the morning. So I came straight home, did that. Then went to bed and couldn't get to sleep straight away because obviously I'd just come back from America and everything. And then eventually got to sleep, woke up about 2:30 in the afternoon. Then we went straight to my daughter had a wedding. So they'd gone to London for a wedding. So we went to look after our grandchild, sleeping at their place because all his toys are there and everything. And therefore, I've just been all over the place. And last night, I'm up all night, completely up all night. Went to sleep about 7 o'clock in the morning. Alarm went off about 9:20 because I had to go and see my former colleague, Edouard Lapaglia, to look after him.
Which home is he in at the moment?
Well, to say that, it's not funny. He's still in his own home, much like me. But whereas I have a wife of 28 years as a carer, he's got nobody as a carer. So, he's on steroids because he's got some condition, so he's having mad dreams, he was telling me.
Is he writing them down? Because there's classic material in those
there is,
mad
isn't
dreams.
there?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You'll be bringing back the PPP.
Yeah, well, I keep saying to him, let's go and do a podcast. I got a text from somebody there's an island just south of Thailand. And we got, I can't remember, it's KOH something or other. I wish I could remember the name. But I got a text last weekend saying, Tony or Edouard Lapaglia and I, we did 100 punchlines, which were basically, we just did punchlines of jokes. So it were lines, some of them we just made up. There was no jokes to go with them. I think one of them was, what do you think this is, Sonny, a flipping bicycle pump? And there was no joke to go with it. Anyway, this guy got in touch with us from this island south of Thailand, which I wish I could remember of.
Koh Samui?
Oh, it might be.
I don't know. I'm just throwing that in there.
It's Koh something or other. Did you just make that up, or is that?
Well, no, it does exist. I just don't know if it's south of Thailand. That's
yeah. Anyway, so it was very wet there apparently. But he said these 100 punchlines that we did, he said were the funniest thing he's ever heard. Are they available anywhere? Well, Tony's kept everything, but what he's got is 456 hours of piss poor podcasts. So he says, tell your correspondent that if he wants to listen through to 456 hours of podcasts, they are there somewhere. But there you go.
So you were too early with podcasting because that
way
Tom,
too
Dick, or
early.
Harry's got.
Oh, no. But we actually did make money, not much money, but it would at the end of. We probably had 100 subscribers paying like £1 a week just on PayPal, which would kill for nowadays. Like there's like 99% of podcasts, including I suspect this one, makes no money whatsoever.
YouTube sent me an email yesterday. We've made £1.91 last month.
Hey,
I think we spent it all on biscuits. That's the problem.
But we are award nominated.
Award nominated again, yeah.
And that's the real win.
What's the award?
The Sports Podcast Awards.
That's
but
good.
In the rugby category.
We can't win because it's a public vote and we're up against Sky and
Rugby
Union, yeah.
And Rugby Union, yeah.
Some of them have got like crazy following.
Yeah,
but that's the thing. In a public vote, being nominated is being on the shortlist. That's the win. That is the win.
Well done. I'd like to say a hearty mazel tov to you all.
Have another biscuit.
How many awards have you won, James?
In what not many.
Well, you've got medals.
Yeah, they're not like trophies, medals and stuff.
Brilliant.
To 10.
It's like getting something from the Queen's not an award.
In the Super League era,
yes,
like we've won 10. Yeah. So 2019 to this year, we've won 10. League
Yeah, but you visited the Palace, haven't you? For a personal award.
No, that was Windsor. Windsor, yeah. Windsor,
that's good.
Yeah,
that's brilliant.
There was only 3 of us there from Sporting that day. There was me, a referee, and someone from Rugby Union. It was a really weird. Like when Tom went to get his OBE, that was very sporty. Like there was some lionesses there. When I went, it was like an education day. It was like services to education, services to this.
See, that sounds a bit like when I graduated from Leeds University. Because I did my course at Barnsley. They have the day where here's the day where all the people from all the noddy colleges can get there.
I was like, okay, yeah, but it was ace. It was good. Yeah.
So when are we starting?
We're recording
everything.
Yeah, we just
right.
So we even did a cold opening.
Really relaxed.
Do you put intro on afterwards?
Oh, I don't even know what.
We don't bother.
No. The music and that.
If you want to sing a song, sing a song. We can do
You don't
karaoke.
nobody wants to hear that.
No, yeah.
So anyway, so I was up at 4 o'clock in the morning doing research on Schlitz. Now, I don't know if you're aware of Schlitz. Well, for many, many years, it was the most popular brand of beer in America. You can still get it. Schlitz is what made Milwaukee famous, as Rod Stewart famously said.
Is Milwaukee famous?
Famous for beer. That's all they're famous for.
Schlitz.
And Schlitz is the beer. Schlitz. So, because of all the words you can use on radio now, and it's relaxed a lot, you know, like I'm always saying, when we have the film club, if it's like the beer drinkers film club, it's always Schindler's Pissed, because you can say pissed. You can say a lot of things on the radio now that you never used to be able to, especially at the time I'm on, when management's all fast asleep, so in bed. But you can say a lot of stuff that you never used to be able to. But one of the words that people do object to is the shits or shit, you know. So you can't say no shit, Sherlock. You know, everybody says So I'm reading a story where the reaction is no shit, Sherlock. So, for instance, my guy who's works as my producer in the studio drives down from Northampton. He's always late on a Friday night. He's always saying, "Oh, I'm not going to be able to make it. I'll be like 20 minutes late." Roadworks on the M1. There's been and this is like in the middle of the night. You know, the roadworks between Northampton and London on the M1 always on. So there's always a crash. Just one little shunt, and that's it. You know, so he has to come off the motorway and go around the other road. So this is always happening. So I was looking at an item in the newspaper which said that motorways and major A roads are being choked by a record number of roadworks, slowing down journeys by a minute for every 5 miles. So it's full of statistics telling you it's slower than ever to get, you know, this year, to get down the M1. They mentioned the M1. So per mile, compared with freely moving traffic, it rose from 6.7 seconds in 2021 to 10.6 seconds. So it's 3 seconds a mile longer. So my reaction to that, given that he's late every bloody week coming down the M1, is no shit, Sherlock. Like they need to come up with statistics to tell us. But I couldn't think of a way of getting around. I've heard people try and do it on the radio and say, no, whatever it is, Sherlock. And it doesn't work. So I'm going to have to presage this story by telling him about Schlitz, so that at the end of it I can say, no Schlitz, Sherlock. But and of course you can have the side joke, going into a bar and saying, have you got the Schlitz? No, it's just the way I'm walking. So I was researching Schlitz.
Was Schlitz one of the ones that didn't get into the Spice Girls?
Well, there's always that, yes. Yes, I was doing that in the middle of the night, looking up Schlitz beer.
Well, he should try driving along the M62 for a match day, either Thursday or Friday.
Yeah,
because now we're setting off
lessons.
on Tuesdays now.
Yeah,
Just
I'm
to
not
get
surprised. Yep, it's terrible. And if you've got a plane to get from Manchester Airport, forget that. But there you go. So that's what I've been doing in the middle of the night.
See, I don't like
just sitting there, isn't it?
Well, yeah, I just get up and watch YouTube, which is an unproductive use of time.
It is, isn't it?
But there's so much rubbish on there, it's brilliant. Who knew you could watch people getting on trains, going to Blackpool and enjoying the salubrious sights of Blackpool?
I think you should show everyone your trousers.
Trousers.
Those are
Christmas trousers.
Those are very impressive. They're specifically Christmas trousers.
That's more impressive. You can do that, to be honest.
Well, but I coach you, I've got to show off my abilities, just in case.
You did try it out.
I did.
You never came back, but you did try it
No,
out.
I want to go.
Is that the microphone we're using?
It enhances.
Enhances.
There's a recorder there. I think it's more for show, isn't it?
No.
Really, but
Is this the new book?
the big book about
The big
Victorian rugby?
Yeah. I saw that in the box earlier in the week, and I had a lot of questions about it.
Mm-hmm. Well, now's a good time to ask them.
Well, I'm probably the only
Pre-
one here
pre-Rugby League.
who lived through this era.
Yes,
Pre-Rugby League.
Yes,
Yeah.
I remember the Northern Rugby Union.
but through
station.
into the divide
Yeah,
and then the first few years outside of it.
It's a big book, that,
it's the
mate.
first time that league tables and representative teams have ever been collated, and
I bet
the
it's
history of a
big.
lot of rugby league teams, probably including Swinton,
I will be glad.
is
I've just noticed the
Northern
Swinton
Union.
yeah.
So yes, the history of the club should start with when they were technically a rugby league team, but actually as a rugby union team before the
Yeah.
big split, it needs recording. So
It does. I just noticed Swinton. Here we
We've
go.
done some serious digging for that.
Swinton,
10 years it took me.
somewhat out of the way.
10 years.
Lancashire hosted Devonshire at Chorley Road, Swinton, on the 3rd of February. That's sometime between 1869 and 1891. Amazing. A venue claimed by one journalist to be a locality somewhat out of the way for a match of interest to the whole county. Nonetheless, some reports estimated an attendance numbering 6,000. It's a long time since Swinton had
But what you would give
6,000.
for that these days?
6,000. Well, they wouldn't fit in with the sale. You couldn't even get 6,000 in there. Could in a million years. That is amazing.
Just checking. No announcements yet.
No announcement.
Even though the announcement, because we're in the future.
We're in the future.
Oh, we're in the future.
We are in the future.
It's Monday today.
The Leeds Rhinos Christmas party.
Yes.
Is it full of drunken debauchery and stuff?
It's not. No, it's
Oh.
very civilised. Because it's the whole club. It's not just.
It'll be a
Well,
long.
I'm going to say that would
Yeah.
be. That would
It'll be
It's
along
a
the
lunch.
lines of you've all done very well, but you're not getting a pay rise.
It's a lunch. Yeah, it's a. We had the wheelchair do, like 2 weekends ago, 2 Saturdays ago.
Where did you take them?
We went to Roxy's in Leeds to do shuffleboard.
Oh, it's always fun. I love
It was
shuffleboard.
good. Yeah, we had the whole team bar 2 players who couldn't make it in the end. Yeah, it was really good.
Who won?
I did awful. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know.
Cam.
I expected that, but
Cam
who
did
actually
well.
won?
Cam did really well, but he's a
Right.
student, so he like
He's
yeah, and he doesn't drink, so like
Hang on,
so like while we were all having a few drinks, he was a student and doesn't drink, so he was like zoned into it. He got it really fast. He was smashing it.
That said, I was out on Saturday. I had one drink and I was like, I don't think I've recovered yet.
Josh did really well. Again, doesn't drink, so he was dialed in as well.
Is it
I'm starting to
worth
see a bit of a.
Mr. Halliwell mentioning it in his next column? Did he do well?
He did all right. Yeah, I think he got. You know what he's like? He likes the flair, likes the flamboyance. So he was trying to spin them and all sorts of stuff, and it didn't quite work. But it looked good, which is the most important thing. It looked fantastic.
Look good, play good. That's
Looked
what we
good,
keep being told.
but didn't quite.
I should have put a Christmas jumper on or something.
Don't worry.
Do you know what? I rushed out this morning, but I've only got one Christmas. Well, I've got one Christmas jumper that fits me, and it's a beautiful. My son bought to me, but unfortunately, it's got Declan Rice on the front in a West Ham shirt, holding up a glass of champagne. You know, it's very much Declan Rice. But I must give it my daughter. One of my daughters, her boyfriend is an Arsenal fan. So he might want the Declan Rice Christmas jumper.
What
though he's
would you
wearing
get in
West Ham.
exchange?
Well, I'm hoping that maybe somebody, some sort of Arsenal cast off. The only one I can think of that's playing at the moment is Fabianski, who had a blinder the other night, actually. Had a great game. Really good. But, yeah, we have, over the years, had Arsenal players, cast-offs, come to us. But
It's like Huddersfield taking all the players from Wakefield. But no, it's all KR.
So have you told us the story of how you became a West Ham fan? Because obviously we know of the Swinton connection.
yeah, well,
Place of
brought up
birth.
this week. My dad, a huge fan of, Salford initially. And in the, probably would be about the late 50s, he migrated from Salford to Swinton, because Salford there was a period, I think late 50s, very early 60s, where Salford were absolutely useless. And he started going to Swinton.
Who
which
were brilliant.
That was our era. So, so Swinton. My mum, meanwhile, is from East London. You know, she's a proper Cockney. She's from Stepney. Originally. So one of a large family, so about 8 or 9 brothers and a couple of sisters. So, you know, it was one of those big immigrant families living in East London. So we were often going down there for family weddings and all that sort of thing. Interesting enough, I was talking about that just to indicate how bloody old I am. I was talking to Tony Eduardo Lapaglia earlier this morning about how I said, I remember going down to London when I was a kid, and we used to stop at Cannock Chase and then at Lichfield. And he said, you can go down there. They haven't built the bloody M1. So you had to stop at all these places, you know, in Staffordshire and everything. But yeah, so we're always.
But it was still quicker than if you tried to do it these days.
That's true. That's true. So I got into. We had a few West Ham supporters in the family and some Arsenal supporters. And as it happened, in the early 60s, and we go, now West Ham were a good side. You know, there was always entertainment there. And then, you know, with winning the European Cup Winners' Cup and then the World Cup and all that, I just stuck with it, really.
So you and Alf Garner?
Me and Alf Garner.
And
yes.
Gary Schofield.
Bizarrely, yes.
Yeah, because Gary supported West Ham.
Yeah. For
I
what
don't
reason?
know.
I don't
Probably
know.
for fun, you know.
Well, he wouldn't have got much.
Well, he would have done during. See, when they had in the 70s, when they, you know, obviously the 60s was a good time, and then in between time went down to the second division. But then when they had Tony Cottee and Frank McAvenny, so we're talking about what, so 83, 84?
Alan Devonshire.
Alan Devonshire, yeah. But you know, they were the striking partnership. Scored loads of goals. It was interesting. It was during a TV strike, and I don't know if you remember this during the. When I mean, you're the, I'm looking
74.
I'm looking at Phil.
Yeah.
Was it 74?
Was it
I think
74?
I thought it was 80s. I think there was.
There
might
was a
have been-
mid-80s TV
There might
show
have been
where-
more than one.
Yeah, there may have been, but there was a period. But Frank McAvenny sort of rose without trace because he was scoring all these. He came down from Scotland, and he didn't play for either Rangers or so. I can't remember which team he came down from, but he came down from Scotland and scored loads of goals, but none of them were televised. You know, he scored some
So they
great
didn't
goals.
happen.
Yeah,
Like if it's before the Premier League,
Before the
didn't
Premier League didn't happen. That's true. So Gary would have probably grown up during that era, maybe.
Yeah, he'd have followed them on CFAX now and again.
Might have followed them on.
Trevor
CFAX.
Brookings' header in the cup final, mate.
Yeah, well, I was there for that. It was at the other end. It was bizarre because, you know, what Wembley used to be like. If you were at one end, you didn't know what the hell was going. It was sort of, and this sort of rumour swept around the crowd. Trevor Brookings scored with a header. He was like, Trevor Brookings scored with a header because nobody could see the bloody thing. It was at the other end. But yeah, we won 1-0. That was marvellous.
I mean, I probably had a better view of Scully than Martin Defiant's try, even though I was sat in the stand at the far end from where he scored. But it's a bit unfair, isn't it?
It is.
A bit unfair.
But true.
Any interest in football, James?
I don't know anything about football.
Well, you could get on the telly. You could be
I
the
don't
new
know.
host of Match of the Day.
I
or
can't tell you
something.
anything.
Well, the funny thing is about the new host of Match of the Day, I got a couple, and again, I was jet lagged to bugger it, but I got a call from Talk Sport, who obviously have tried to get some of the authorities who dropped out and said, can you come on at 2:30 this afternoon and talk about the new presenters of Match of the Day, new presenting team? And I tried to think of what I could say.
Has it been announced yet?
Yeah. It's three of them. They're going to have a rotating presenting panel. They're going to be rotating like that. So that's Strictly Come Dancing.
A little bit like your favourite Chinese restaurant when you've got
Yeah.
one of those
That's
tables where you...
or a sushi bar. So it's three of them. It's Mark Chapman, obviously. They should have just
Rugby League's Mark Chapman, as we like to call
Rugby League. Well, he's not going to be Rugby League's Mark Chapman for long. So yeah, they've got Rugby League's Mark Chapman. They've got Leeds' Gabby Logan. And they've got Kelly Cates from Sky.
Right.
So I suppose the way they're looking at it, Kelly Cates and Gabby Logan, by family connection, are at the heart of the world of football. You know, two of the great figures of football over the past 50 years or whatever. So I've got those two and Mark Chapman, who's got no connection with football really, apart from that he's been doing Match of the Day too and been doing a good job on it and everything. So there was nothing I could say. the only thing I could, all I could say is they've got three pretty decent presenters. Very small earthquake. I said this. It's not really a huge story. I thought it was a very BBC solution. Just, they're not, let's just keep it going. And they're splitting between Match of the Day 1 and Match of the Day 2, which I think is a shame in that the good thing about Match of the Day 1 and Match of the Day 2 is they had specific characters. Match of the Day 1 was a different programme from Match of the Day 2, and I assume if they're split in the three presenters, so some will present some one day and the other. But it was the comments of the new head of BBC Sport, Alex Jelski, something or other. I can't remember his full name, but he's got some posh BBC name. Anyway, he's saying that they're going to modernise it. They're going to bring it up to date. Oh no, Don't be bringing it up.
It's
to
just
the-
football.
Who's the
highlight.
audience, though?
Yeah.
I mean, there isn't suddenly going to be a load of young people that are now going to tune in to a highlights program and they've seen the goals live on their phone if they're interested.
Yeah, precisely.
So
But anyway,
stick
he's-
to the audience, you know.
Yeah, so he says it's going to be changed. There's going to be more digital content, etc. So there's going to be more digital content. He said. So I said, all that means to me is there's going to be more standing up. They're going to be standing up, basically pointing at screens and moving arrows.
Mickey Richards is going to do some TikToks or something.
Getting banned in America.
Is it?
TikTok.
It's been banned.
Is it TikTok? There's the big.
Because
I'm sure
that's
it's
the
TikTok.
Chinese one, isn't it? Yes.
Yeah, it's getting banned in America.
Ah,
Like imminently, I think.
blimey.
I don't have TikTok, but
It's like everybody's moving to Blue Sky.
I don't know what that is.
No, well,
I only have
I thought I'd
Blue
throw
Sky.
that in. I've
Yeah.
no idea.
Oh, right, yeah.
Oh, I'm on Blue Sky. You can. In fact, I might when you're on the show back this weekend, maybe a few books for us.
Why not? If that's
you
all
can
right.
talk about the wheelchair news. You know, the latest.
Talk about wheelchair news.
That'll be-
Everybody wants to know about the wheelchair.
Yeah,
We've
everyone
been
wants.
relentlessly plugging the wheelchair.
Yeah.
Well, you do that.
Keep
Yeah,
checking
thanks
the
for
emails.
thanks for the in the magazine the plug about the documentary.
That's all right.
Yeah,
I had
it-
nothing else to watch.
Yeah, it didn't get. Yeah, it's fair enough. Yeah, I thought they did a really good job. So we had the guys who did the documentary for Kevin Sinfield doing his running for
Right.
Sky because they're from Leeds. They embedded with us last year for the year,
Right.
and then did a Sky documentary about the Rhinos team
Rustling on
like going through,
Yeah.
and it was good, wasn't it? It came out all right in the end.
Yeah.
like they kind of filmed.
We're all in the
non-stop.
background at one point.
This is
Yeah.
on Sky, is it?
Yeah, it's
Oh,
cool.
what's that? When's it?
Well, it came out. It was really good. It came out.
Hang on, it dropped.
It dropped. It dropped right before the grand final on Sky. So if you watch that.
Ah, right.
And then the grand final, it was really good because the narrative through it a lot of it was us Halifax, like the kind of rivalry between our two teams.
All right.
It was in the documentary, and then just by like how the season rolled out, is we ended up facing them in the grand final the year after. So
Right.
like it was a nice narrative. I didn't watch it because I was at the grand final, but the narrative was like us in the documentary. Then we actually played each other in the final,
Oh,
so
brilliant.
it panned out quite well.
And you won.
Because I watched
We won, yeah.
I watched the Storyville documentary,
Yeah.
which was really, really
The,
good.
the big difference is it's like the story one, which was fantastic,
Yeah, it
and they
was.
were great with us. Like they were with us for 2 years, like embedded. But that was like the whole kind of overarching
Yes, it
World Cup,
was,
where
yeah.
this is the first time it's like very club focused. It's like you see all the fancy England setup where you get everything versus
Right.
a club setup where
Oh,
it's
brilliant.
like you run it.
It's more like Sunderland till I die.
It is
Yeah.
a bit, isn't it? Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
Are you in the spirit of the Rhinos? Or are you not in that?
I'm not in it. Oh, I am actually.
Oh, you are in it? Because I've only watched the first episode
Yeah.
so far.
I'm in the
So-
second episode.
Oh, well, I watched the one
So I
where
was-
Rowan gets sacked.
Yes, it is. Yeah, but Rowan invited me to the London game to sit in the coaching box and
I'm listening.
be part of the like team talk and stuff. So I'm in it because I'm sat in the coach's box. I'm sat in the dressing room at half time, stood there like not knowing what to do. But we won. So well, I can't remember. No, I think we
Oh,
were
was that the one? London at home?
London at home. Yeah, we.
Was that the Golden
there was
Point
one big win, not the Golden Point.
Yeah, it was So I am in it. I'm just stood in the background at half time.
Got my official Jack Wellesby badge. Where's Wally? Put that there.
Just gonna check
More rubbish on the desk.
check past.
No, not yet. It'll be 12 o'clock.
Is it 12?
Have you watched any of the other episodes, fellow?
I've seen the first two.
I find these documentaries are great if you don't know how they end.
Yeah.
So I think if you're not either if you're not a fan of the club
Yeah.
or you've no vested interest, you just watch it for entertainment.
So football.
But if it's your team and you know they've had a crap
Yeah.
season and it starts with it's going to be great and all the new guys are great and
Yeah.
the coaches are saying this is it and you know how it ends, it doesn't quite
I watch a lot
captivate
of
in the
football
same way.
documentaries because I don't know anything about football. So I watch a lot of documentaries to see how like the off-field stuff and the coaching staff. So like I watch a lot of the football ones. I don't know anything about it, but because I don't know anything about it, I like it because I learn
It's the same with American
coaching.
football.
Yeah. All those like every second counts on all nothing. All those
All or
documentaries.
nothing, yeah. The Arsenal one was very good actually because Saka was just starting as a young, and he was in awe of all the other players and everything. But now he's better than all of them.
Yeah.
So that was interesting.
I think I've got a bit of fatigue to them. I don't know if and that's not from writing.
They
the
are
column.
getting done to death though, like sports document, and
They've got to be
copied
different
now.
because the Wrexham one, you know,
That's
would
right.
anybody write about Wrexham?
It was
if
good
they
for a
didn't-
season.
If
The
they
first
didn't
series
have
it was good, and then
famous
it
people in
dropped
charge.
off. Like they did, I think they did a third series,
dropped
and
and
it was
dropped
half the amount of episodes, and it was a lot shorter. And yeah, you can tell now, like it's done. Like the first one was a big thing, and now it's done.
it's still famous people-owned football club.
Yeah.
Whereas like, Sky keep advertising the Burnley one. I'm like, I have no interest in Burnley at all.
I watched the Burnley one. I mean, what is interesting about Burnley is the American owners. I presume they're still there. Very, very religious. Either Jehovah's Witnesses or Mormons. I can't remember. Have you heard the? Are you allowed to use bad language on this?
Well,
There's no watershed.
No,
We're not bound
you
by
can
anything.
always edit it.
Yeah.
But Gary Delaney, very good comedian, lives with Sarah Millican. I think they may very well be married. But he says he's just got a Jehovah's Witness advent calendar. Every window you open, it tells you "fuck off." Which doesn't work.
It's appropriate. It's appropriate.
It's appropriate. The other one he says that I've got a travel lodge advent calendar. There is chocolate in there, but you can't open the windows.
Nice.
I've not got any of it. I've not had an advent calendar for years. I feel like I'm missing it. And they got these ones with toys in.
Yeah.
Although my friend
Expensive.
Ken, who has sent us a tin of pineapples to put on the desk, I don't know why. He bought them all in January
Right.
when they're cheap because he's clever. So
I'd
hello, Kenny.
end up eating them in one go.
Yeah, but these are the toy ones.
So
it's like
like-
Lego and stuff.
So you're not interested in walnut whip or festive crusted,
What did I say to you? at the
but
beginning?
pineapple?
I like simple chocolate. Just give me a dairy milk or something like.
He can't ruin his dinner. What's the menu
Oh, yeah,
for the Leeds Rhinos dinner?
It'll be the
Do you want me to
full,
dig it out?
the full Christmas.
Yeah, it'll be
dinner.
no, it's not. I think it's like.
Is that now the Christmas?
Well, it's in about. Well,
It's in the future,
it's
but
in the
also
future, in the
past.
past. Yeah, it's not. It's happened. Have you seen that film? Have you seen that film Tenet by Christopher Nolan? It's like that.
It's like time travel. This is very confusing.
So Phil, I haven't got my phone with me. I've come out with it. I had to rush out because I went to sleep 7 o'clock in the morning and then woke up. I had the alarm on, thankfully. But last Friday morning, which was when I just back, I missed my pre-records. I usually do a letter from Blackpool and racing tips, and I missed them all. But this week, talk about a few books, and would you be available at 10 o'clock tomorrow morning?
Probably not, because there is a memorial service to Sid Hines at Headingley tomorrow.
Oh, you want to be there for that?
And this is Wednesday. We're on now. What day is it today?
Oh yeah,
Today's
don't
Wednesday.
shed light on
Because we're in the
magic.
future.
Sorry? Oh, we're in the
It's all
future.
pre. I'd get up live to do it with you now.
So you're not going to be around last Thursday morning,
But I might be around last Thursday afternoon
afternoon is better, right?
or anytime Friday
Yes. Good.
if we were in the past.
Last Friday, yeah.
But clearly, we went out live on the
Well,
Saturday.
in about 8 minutes, 5 minutes, if the thing gets released, we're now back in the present.
Right.
Are we?
Right. So it's very Christopher Nolan.
Oh, yeah, you're in it.
It's very confusing. It's very confusing.
That's why we can't go out live, because it's embargoed, but then...
Right.
I like how it's embargoed, but I'm not sure people would be. Well,
I always think embargo's just press. Like,
yeah, you can't trust people. You can't trust. It's like the Man of Steel thing when Michael Lewis won it and Sky had announced it.
oh yeah. Or the Brody Croft video that got leaked before he was signed for Leeds, even though
I can't remember that.
the video that leaked on Twitter of him in his Leeds gear, like doing the promotional shoot at the stadium before he was announced that he'd signed for Leeds.
It's like Paul Ince doing the. Did he have the Man United scarf or something?
A shirt, I think. Yeah. Yes, he did. He was always rapidly. I can't understand why football. I mean, they're all bloody mercenaries anyway. I mean, why the hell?
You can't keep things secrets now with social media. It just takes
No, that's true.
no.
So you're a mercenary, James. If someone offers you a fiver, would you go? Because you're not getting paid. Would you go somewhere else?
No. I love what I'm
You're a man of principle.
Oh,
yeah. Leeds through and through.
Apart from before you arrived, you did say he's now in line to be in the Paralympics.
No, I'm
in
not.
Los
No,
Angeles.
I'm not in line.
2028.
I am in the very start. Paris was only a month ago. I'm in the very early stages of the cycle to.
Are they making a
But
documentary about
knowing
that?
you as we do,
Well, it took me 18 months when I started wheelchair rugby league to get selected for the England team. That was starting the sport from scratch. So I've got to do that again in a lot more condensed timeline. By the end of March, they'll pick the long squad. So I need to make. That's what I need to be ready for.
And this
It
is
could
for
be a dual
2028
Olympics.
Yeah,
Olympics.
Paralympics in LA. Yeah.
in LA.
Yeah.
Right.
But I've literally just started.
He's got a friend that you can stay at.
I've just started.
Yeah.
So.
Stay with
Well,
us.
we'll be in camp, mate. We'll be in.
The Olympic Village.
What-
The
I
Paralympic
can't stress
Village.
enough that I've just started.
What You have every confidence in you. What's the difference in resource?
Huge.
They've got some.
Yeah, so the GB squad gets, I think it just got given for the next cycle. The GB wheelchair squad alone got 3.5 million. It's like that's you for 3 years, 4 years to be ready for.
Is that for all wheelchair sport?
Just wheelchair rugby.
Wheelchair rugby.
Yeah.
And will they medal?
Well, if you want
Terrible use of
horrible for me, it's like you want to win gold.
Yeah, but I mean, I think granting this £3.5 million because there's a fair chance you're going to be on the podium.
Well, I don't know the ins and outs of it, but
Yeah.
probably. Well, interesting. This is they got gold medal in Tokyo, and then in Paris didn't medal, and then lost the bronze medal game. So I think it's like the know they can do it, but something's like obviously didn't do it at the last one. So new cycle, fresh start. Like new players. There's pathways and stuff. Yeah, but the resources I've got is great. We've got 2 camps in January. Each one's 4 days long. You do week on, week off basically until March, and there's a trip to Japan in February and a trip to Holland in April if you make the squad. So Japan will be like a test out players, fringy players, and then if you make the squad in March, you'll go to the Euros in April, May time in Holland. So already that's a brand new cycle started right now, and there's already a trip to Japan planned. They've got 3.5 million spread over that period of time. And players, if you make the squad, you get like sponsorship, like salary to becomes your job.
So is that the aspiration of Wheelchair Rugby League then, to get up to that?
Is this the first time wheelchair rugby's been in the games?
No, it's been in there for
it's
decades.
known as murder ball, isn't it? Because it isn't really
was.
wheelchair rugby, because you can pass forward and it's a round ball.
Which should be a skill that Leeds players use.
So there's 2 variants. There's wheelchair rugby and wheelchair, which is in the Paralympics, and wheelchair rugby league, which has its own World Cup.
Yeah, and wheelchair rugby.
So you could be the first person that would be a dual code World Cup winner.
In theory,
That's just saying we're getting that in early, that we're promoting that of you.
So Jonathan Ibanaya, who plays for Cattle and Dragons and the French national team, he plays for the French wheelchair rugby team as well. So he doubles up, and you can see it in his game. You can see he does things that are a bit of both.
There isn't a specific wheelchair rugby union and wheelchair rugby league, though.
There is a specific wheelchair rugby league, which is basically the laws of the game of wheelchair of rugby league, just translated into a wheelchair version. But to do rugby union in a wheelchair would be quite hard, because in wheelchair rugby league you have a tag, so you pull the tag off the arm and that's the tackle.
Yeah.
Wheelchair rugby union would have to adopt some version of a tackle. You have to have a tackle, and I think they would have to bring a tag into it, which they probably wouldn't want to do, because then you're taking from rugby league. Yeah. Whereas wheelchair rugby is it's a mixed bag of sports. When it was created, it was aimed at people with kind of spinal disabilities who would struggle to get into other elite sports, so it's been tailored around them.
Right.
Yeah, it's really exciting, mate. Yeah, the funding and the resources. It's just GB though, isn't it? It's Team GB. So
right.
I'm just checking. It's 12 o'clock.
We want to see scrums and lineouts though. That's what you want to see. Wheelchair lineouts. Like the wheelchair hacker. That was great to see in the.
I think they spent more time. I think they openly said we spent more time practicing the hacker than we did training. I
always mean to ask players how much time they have to spend practicing that kind of thing, because obviously you can't get that wrong.
No.
Drop the ball. That's all right.
Yeah. And I think with the team like the Kiwis, they didn't have much training time together anyway. Like I kind of get it. You're like, let's just do some basic stuff. Just go out there. If you're a brand new squad together like that with no domestic league, you go at the risk of like pointless training. So just do a bit of training, and then just get out there, play, and you'll figure it out as you go. I think the hacker was probably more important to them than the results on the pitch. That's the thing people talk about. Nobody's talking about the result. They're talking about the hacker.
Well, it's got a couple of tries over the games.
They did. I think they scored.
So what does Christmas hold?
Imagine being the first player in a Kiwi shirt to score a try. Mm-hmm. Imagine how you will. That's ace. Like first ever game, and you score, and you're the first one in history to score for your country. How good is that?
So I was going to say, what does a highly honed athlete like you, bearing in mind you are the only one I was looking at you and talking to him.
Yeah.
Do for Christmas? Do you allow yourself to?
I do, yeah, because I believe in peaks and troughs. Like I believe in you got to peak. You can't be 100% all the time because you'll just burn out. So I believe in you peak for something. Say if you need to be 95, 100% for something, then you drop back down to like 75, 80%, too long, and then you'll peak back up again. So yeah, but I just had a month on holiday. So I had a month on holiday. I've come back, and I need to be training now. So I need to kind of train ready for my next GB camp because I didn't train for a month. So now I have to treat Christmas as a bit of a. I need to be training because I need to be ready again for the next camp because I did nothing for a month.
I need to do the hoovering. No. Yeah. I've had an email. It's about your Valkyrie signing some players.
Okay.
It's not the same.
Anything? Is it embargoed?
No, but they're...
Anyone we've heard of?
Yeah, they've signed... It's players who they had who signed professional contracts.
Oh, right.
So it says... This is the excitement, isn't it? Waiting for an email to come through that we know the news from. Maybe the RFL's computers are broken.
Is it true that the women's teams are being capped at 25 players?
Yeah.
Because I only heard that the other day and I didn't know
if you read a magazine...
That's where I read it, actually, yeah. That's where I read it. Yeah,
that's what she
said.
said.
Put it. Which is strict like Leeds. I think we've got 4 or 5 players out.
They just promoted 6 from their academy.
Some who played last year for the first team anyway, who got kind of brought up last minute.
So you need to have a work with... when you're at this Christmas party today...
That you've already been at.
Yeah, it was lovely. But I haven't had it yet.
Who's in charge of merchandising at the Rhinos? Because we need to be able to buy the wheelchair shirts. Because I can buy the women's shirt.
Yeah.
But I still feel a bit dodgy buying the Rhinos women's shirt. But I would wear the wheelchair shirt.
Yeah.
Even though obviously I'm a fan of the Rhinos.
So our shirts, so it's a foundation shirt. So you've got like the wheelchair, the PD and the LD teams have the same shirt but with different sponsors on. So it's like a foundation shirt. So like the women and the men's are in the club, like the elite pathway, whereas the wheelchair team, even though we're competing in the Super League and we're still in the foundation, like all our funding and everything comes from the foundation. So we're in a foundation shirt. The only difference is we've got Caddick on the front as one of our chief sponsors, where the other 2 teams have NG on the front because that's their chief sponsor, where we have it on the back. It's the only way different. But yeah, you're right. It'd be good to get some shirts.
And it costs a fortune because I'd have to get Boyd Ward on the back, and that's a lot of letters. And 2 numbers as well. So
yeah,
that's no good. The squad. Did we talk about squad numbering last time we were in?
No.
Because Tom Coyne's invented squad numbers for positions.
Oh yeah.
We did talk about it.
I haven't talked about it, but yeah, I know about it.
So what number would you have been?
I'd
obviously be number 6 or 7, mate.
I don't think it matters, mate. Numbers are numbers. Like, yeah, it's...
Oh, I tell you, in football, your squad numbers very important. I've been going on Hawksby and Jacobs for about 25 years on Talk Sport, and when they first started, they called me squad number 9. So I've kept that number, squad number 9.
I can see you as a centre forward target.
Yeah, thanks. Well, I used to be, you know what, I was a left winger. I used to hang around on the left wing, not doing very much, a little bit like Jeremy Corbyn. What was I going to say? Oh yeah, but I've got they still use my squad number. So when I was on this, it was squad number 9. And I did say to him, I thought you'd retire the shirt because they dropped me from. I used to come on and do the TV thing, the same thing as you do in the mag. So I used to review sport on TV, but they dropped me for financial reasons, which is you wouldn't think that big organisation Talk Sport is trying to cut back, but everybody is. I suppose since they've got to pay national insurance for some of their employees and all that stuff. And they find it harder to exploit people on no wages from university and all that stuff. They're trying to cut down on money. So we're being told now we can only play royalty-free music. So I've great because as I've already said, management is tucked up and fast asleep when I'm on air. We keep saying we used to, if we were doing a Formula One bit, we'd play the chain, the Fleetwood Mac thing. Because that's associated with Formula One. But now we're just playing some music that basically we've gone into AI and said, can you find us some sort of Formula One style music? So something that's a little bit like the chain. So now we've started, so that they've said nowhere else on TalkSport we hear everybody mention royalty-free music. But when I get a memo from management, I look on that as material. So I now say, let's all settle down, kids, and listen to some royalty-free music.
So you mentioned retiring a shirt. Hull KR have done the reverse.
Yeah, they've brought...
It's because they retired the number 6 when Roger Millwall passed away.
Right.
And they just re-established it for Mikey Lewis because he's the man of steel. Should they have retired it in the first place? Shouldn't
Well,
that number
that's-
always
why's
be
your squad number not retired?
aspirational for every generation?
Yeah.
Because I gave
I
Nathan
think
Moore
you're
my
right.
number. Like when he came over, I was like, you can have my number. So that's why.
And then he wears Crocs.
Not playing though, only when he's floating about. Yeah, well, I think if you have had a player like that and you really love that number and it's associated with something, and you decide to retire it and everyone's on board with it and their family's on board with it, then yeah, like retire it. But some sports, the numbers, like rugby league, your numbers stay the same, don't they?
Yeah.
Whereas some sports, they're changing shirt number every time you go out. That's one of the things. But yeah, and then the family have obviously blessed to unretire it. So
Well, I retired the number 1 when Ken Gowers died. I retired the number 1. I won't listen to anything that's number 1 anymore.
but next year our squad numbers will be the same as this year, bar Paul Horrobin has left to move to Batley because it's close to home. He's taken over as player coach there as well, so we'll bring someone up from the reserve grade then to become like his number. But yeah, our squad numbers will be the same going forward.
Wakefield have released their fixtures. So,
Well, I'm going to have to.
Wheelchair fix.
yeah. There's
Have
a
they?
falls tournament on the 5th of April.
They've gone before the.
Well, no, they've gone after.
Yeah.
But
Right, let me see. Like, well, I need to go in like 7 minutes.
I didn't
So-
realise, feature that was written in the current 4020 magazine out now, subscription's perfect for Christmas, it's not too
It's
late,
above
Well,
Martin
mention
Kelner.
it on our show.
that Johnny Stopford finished his career at Blackpool
Yes, I remember that. He went to
with Billy
Blackpool.
Boston.
Was Billy Boston?
Yeah,
as well.
which I'd never realised.
Yeah. Yes, I
Because he
remember
was one
going
of
to
your
that.
favourites, wasn't he?
Love Johnny Stopford. No, well, no, my favourite players from the Swinton era, when I used to watch them in the 60s, bizarrely, as I came in the shop, Gary Hetherington was in downstairs. So
That is bizarre.
I was, well, it is
Was he
bizarre.
buying anything?
Yeah, he was. He
Oh,
bought
that's
a
all right.
load of- he bought a load of books for
No,
Christmas
we
presents.
put Christmas presents together for some of the overseas players, which is a lovely touch from Gary, I must say.
Yeah. So, so he was getting his Christmas, but he said, what era do you go back to? So I said, yeah, I'll go back to when we won all 4 cups in 1920. But no, so I was saying I go back to the 60s. And he said, oh yeah, Johnny Stopford, I think he mentioned another player. So I can do the whole team if you want. Gallus, Speed, Fleet, Buckley, Stopford, Parkinson, Cartwright, Bretherton, Roberts, Thompson, Norburn, Smethurst, Bland. That is the entire 13 that I first started watching with Swindon. So, yes, I do go back. And I do remember Johnny Stopford going to Blackpool at the end of his career. Also remember Dave Robinson. We were talking about him. They sold Dave Robinson to Wigan for £10,000, which was an absolute bloody fortune in those days. And for about 2 years, the only talk you could hear at Station Road was, what do they do with the money from Dave Robinson?
Which was that's an ongoing thing at every club.
Yeah.
Until players stopped paying. When was the last transfer? Well, I guess did Leeds buy Andy Ackers or
Yeah.
Bradley Croft?
But
But
it's
you know-
always for an undisclosed
Yeah.
fee.
Yeah. But in those days, fees were the big
Page
thing.
not found. So maybe it hasn't.
Yeah, but that's the
happened
Wakefield website.
Yeah. The link.
Undisclosed.
So are they going to do all right? Well, now Wakefield Trinity are in the Super League, and they've got the new ground and all
We've got
that.
yet. So that's your local team.
It's my local team. When I had some hospital treatment where I was fitted out with a catheter for a short while. So, and I needed to get out of the house because I'd been sort of on like bed rest and all that sort of stuff. So, I thought I'll go and watch Wakefield Trinity because I can walk there from home and it would get me out of the house and blah, blah, blah. And the
You don't need to
sunshine,
use the toilet,
etc.
which is a good thing
Well,
in Bellevue.
the thing about it was, I suddenly became a bit of a culture vulture because I knew that walking from my house down to Wakefield Trinity, I went past the Hepworth, and they're marvellous toilets in the Hepworth, and I could empty my catheter there, whereas going into is not ideal in an actual public toilet sort of thing. So I was telling my friend Will Buckley about having to go to the Hepworth. I said, there's some very good exhibitions on there, but what's more important is there's a fine toilet where I said, it's a world-class art gallery with world-class toilets. Which they didn't have at Wakefield Trinity in those days, and probably still haven't.
No, it's
not in the
fine
north
now with
but
the new
he
Fox
was-
stand.
Will was telling me, because Will is a member of the MCC, so he's in Lords at the with all the toffs there, and he said, you go to the toilet at Lords, there's a whole row of guys emptying their catheter into it. because that's the audience at Lord's.
No, we've got now they've knocked down the old. There's a picture of Chesterfield's old Saltergate ground that's shown on social media all the time. That's what the toilets were like at Bellevue for a long time, but now they've got.
I've seen Rugby League at Saltergate.
Was it Sheffield Eagles versus
Sheffield
Castleford?
Eagles.
No, it's Leeds.
Oh, Leeds.
Yeah, they played a few games in Chester when they were nomadic.
Did you go to Southend? Did you go to Roots Hall?
No, that's sadly Gary. Did Gary play for Kent Invicta?
I'm not sure.
He's played for a lot of clubs.
Yeah.
No, I never had the pleasure because they didn't. They weren't elevated to the point where
Did you
they
ever watch
touched
British
the
Aerospace Rugby League?
only for the commentary.
I've seen the adverts, but I never because they used to show it at the Wakefield Town Hall, but I was too young to watch it, unfortunately. So there must be some video footage of this around somewhere.
I keep on looking for it because when Keith Macklin died, now how long ago was that? About.
That would have been a while ago because I don't think we've done an obit to
Was
it.
that about 20 years ago?
Yeah.
I was saying died while I was in radio. I think I must have been working at Radio Leeds possibly. And somebody mentioned Keith Macklin was a legend of radio because he set up, I think, Red Rose Radio in Preston. I said, don't tell me about legend of radio. He was a legend of British Aerospace. I co-commentated with Keith Macklin on as a match at Swinton. I think it was still Station Road. When did Swinton move from Station Road?
I can remember getting there in the
early
90s.
It was the 90s, yeah.
There was a semi-final there in the early 90s.
Yeah. I think we moved to Gig Lane about 92, 93, something like that, maybe. And this was just pre that. So we're talking about 30 years ago, basically. And Keith Macklin was a good commentator, actually. Keith
he was
Macklin.
wonderful. He used to do all the local radio, and whenever there was a game over the Pennines, Radio Leeds used it, and he was brilliant.
It was always good, wasn't it? He wrote
a great book, The Encyclopedia of Rugby League.
I've got his autobiography somewhere as well, which is interesting from a broadcasting perspective.
All right, I'm going to have to go. Is there anything wheelchair ability related you want to get off your chest before I go?
Well, we're not interested in wheelchair ability. It's the Christmas special.
Good. Well, that gives me...
You've already gone anyway, because you had a nice lunch.
I was never here. Was I here?
Congratulations on being in Super League.
I reckon Wigan winning Team of the Year has bumped, like the article they've had to put out, Wigan winning has bumped the wheelchair up, do you know?
It's only a bloody award, and it's a nonsense programme.
Well,
it's the impression. Matt Pete spoke really well.
Yeah, it was fantastic.
Yeah, but they still haven't deleted their tweet with Conor McGregor on. That's been up for 2 months now. So
yeah, but it gets eyes on, doesn't it? You know,
yeah, eyes.
I get both.
Yeah.
Right, I'm off for lunch that I've already had.
Enjoy.
I mean, here's the highlight of the 745 thing that's mascot racing. Eagle, panther, rhino, lion, ram, and I don't know what the other two are, so I can't really see. So, who's going to win? And hopefully they don't run over the kids who are dancing in the middle. That'll be a bit annoying.
Start your engines! We go in 3, 2, 1, we're off! Right away! It's to the 30-metre line! 7 star jumps! Star jumps! 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We're away to halfway where it's 4 press-ups. 4 press-ups and halfway! Here we go, look at this. Who's going to be off the mark first? Ronnie's to the 30-metre line where it's a 5 spins round the ball. 5 spins round the ball. Then you'll pick up the ball. Some shenanigans going on here from Doncaster's party. Right, Ronnie, you need the ball. Ronnie, you need the ball. Swinton are going to be here, Ronnie. Come on. It's done. A line crossing for Swinton. It's Ronnie.
Swinton obviously had a tip sheet on how to cheat.
Boy Parky from Doncaster. Keys through the line in 4. Come on, Halifax. And last but by no means least, Roger the Rat.
Welcome back. I've no idea how this is going to appear.
But it's like Christmas Day, isn't it? You know, some people open their presents in the morning, some at lunchtime, some are drunk by midday. It's Christmas. There's no format.
I've got the The Footy Show board game,
Oh,
which hopefully includes some misogyny and casual racism, like the programme itself.
1,000 questions.
1,000 questions on rugby league. Test your knowledge on and off the field. Age 12 plus. So that's perfect.
So you should introduce our guest formally,
Well,
because I've never met this gentleman.
You've heard of, like, Nepo babies is a word of the 2024 lexicon. Nepo dads, does that work? Nepo fathers?
Works for me.
Jeff Kaplan.
That's me.
It's your fault. This programme,
Absolutely.
everything's your fault.
I take the blame.
How are you? What are you doing here?
I've been invited. I'm very impressed and fortunate to be so invited.
You are our regular viewer.
Oh, I am. Not Mr. Programme.
But I think, excitingly, you've been watching the game without giving anything away since 1947.
1945.
Right. So if anybody says, is the game better or worse, you'd have the perfect view on it.
I do. It's different. I would believe in the early days after the Second World War, they were trying to get rugby league and other sports back into the public domain, and like Leeds brought across people like Arthur Clues and Cook and Verenkamp, these sort of guys from Australia who really cemented the game. And then you got those wonderful players at Huddersfield and Wigan and Warrington. So the game started to take off again from a very low level. And then, like all sports, it has its highs and its troughs. In the case of Leeds Rugby League, a lot of troughs.
But you have witnessed the current golden generation.
I have.
But you've never lost the passion. I mean, I was a third generation watcher. It was your dad, my granddad, that introduced both of us to the sport.
It is.
But none of us have ever really lost it, even though the game itself may have changed.
Oh, no. I don't think there is a sport like rugby league. I played rugby union. It's a better game to play, I believe, is rugby union, but rugby league is a much better game to watch. It's much more scientific. And when you get into situations like we had with, in the 1960s, Roy Francis suddenly turned up to Leeds to coach, it opened the doors to so many people to a new type of rugby league. And that was probably as big a plus, if not bigger, than the Kevin Sinfield era. Because from nothing, suddenly this amazing team arrived.
In terms of memories, because it's Christmas and everybody's got memories, some of the great memories of mine are away games.
Right.
And what you used to find in the late 60s, early 70s when I started going with you was the home games, Leeds were invariably going to win. They were playing predominantly Yorkshire opposition.
Right.
Away games, they were almost certainly going to lose, particularly if we were going to Lancashire. But I can remember coming back from Barrow or Whitehaven, places that probably now modern fans don't go to. Which are the places you remember going? Because I know that you went to quite a lot of away grounds.
I think I've been to pretty well every one. Certainly Workington, Whitehaven, Barrow.
Because we were talking to Martin just before about his love of Swinton, and obviously you've gone to Station Road.
I went to Station Road and saw Leeds beat in the semi-final by Widnes. And I think your sister cried all the way home.
1982.
From memory.
The travesty of the ball off the crossbar.
But talking about going away, we never missed a match, always went away. But in the 50s, going to places like Wigan and Warrington, you knew if you lost by less than 50, you'd had a good day. So, yes,
which modern fans don't understand now.
Well, the Leeds didn't used to always win. Well, I know they don't at the moment. The men.
Well, and it's funny you should mention the 50s, because we wanted to get a piece of memorabilia that you might relate to.
I mean, this must be priceless. This is a priceless
This is
artifact.
Bernard Pryor's shirt
Is it really?
from the 1957 Challenge Cup final.
I was there.
At Wembley when Leeds beat Barrow.
Yes.
This was donated by his family.
How marvellous.
So, that, again, going to Wembley Because again, we take it for granted now. You can get in a car and go anywhere.
Oh,
But
yeah.
the trips to Wembley, you'd have gone in
1947.
47?
1947 was my first trip to Wembley. Never missed a Wembley that Leeds has played in. 1947 I will never forget because it was my first outing to London. We stopped at a very posh hotel called the Waldorf, and at 11 years old I walked in and did my rattle and got thrown out of the hotel immediately. But I remember more the return match the following week when Leeds played Bradford Northern at Headingley, and there were 40-odd thousand there.
Yeah,
That's
still
something
records.
sticks in my mind.
Yeah.
Why don't they bring back rattles? They're not too dangerous, are they?
Well, if they can have a band, they can have a rattle.
That is very true, actually, because surely you can cause more damage hitting someone with a trombone.
or even listening to one.
Well, certainly. What was Headingley like before bands? And when it was all black and white, because obviously the world was black and white pre.
Very black and white. Yeah. It was basic. You didn't go for any entertainment. You went for the rugby. The rugby was the entertainment, and there would be a normal crowd at Headingley in those days would always be around 30,000, and you'd have 30,000 critics. And probably I was the leading one.
But talking of Christmas again, the one thing obviously that Headingley became synonymous with was when it got its undersoil heating. There was always going to be a game on Boxing Day, and invariably Grandstand was on Boxing Day.
Yes.
The racing would be called off. The football would be half the programme would be decimated. They always went to Headingley on a Boxing Day morning, which is why the tradition continues. Again, that was one of the highlights of the year.
I always remember Leeds once played Wakefield, their standard Boxing Day match, with 12 reserves, and Bob McMaster was the captain. And they played out of their skins, and sorry to tell you, Richard, thrashed Wakefield that day.
I've had 30 years of them being rubbish.
But
They've rubbish in the past.
again, it wasn't the match, it was the amazing thing that 12 young men plus one international star could put on such a performance. So, yes, you went home with always a glow.
That was just the alcohol. I think the other things that are exciting is whilst Leeds has obviously captured your heart, you've always supported Rugby League in its wider sense. So we had James on earlier. You're passionate about wheelchair.
Yes.
You've always supported the international game whenever you can, England / Great Britain, whenever they've played.
Yes.
It's more than just a club affiliation, because we don't want people to think this is a Leeds loving.
Oh, no. There's no question about it. The greatest surprise and enjoyment in the last few years has been the wheelchair rugby. It has lifted the idea of Rugby League to another level, which you couldn't even have imagined until you saw this. And the first time that Phil took my wife and I to see them, we couldn't believe what we were seeing. These are just absolute amazing athletes.
And they're accessible as well, because the other thing we've always found, I mean, you've got an affiliation with Gary Schofield because you used to sponsor him when he was first came to Leeds, and he's never forgotten that.
Oh, right.
And the thing about that is because the players, be it the running game, the wheelchair game, the women's game, physical disability, learning disability, they're always accessible, and I think that's part of the law of keeping people involved.
Very much
in the
so.
league.
I mean, somebody like Arthur Clues, after his playing days, became a personal friend. So did Bert Cook. And you never forget the way that they were reached out to you. You didn't have to go and look to them. And you're quite right. It is amazing, even today, no question, the players that play this game at whatever standard or whatever level, they want to be your friend.
We talk about characters and the fact that we need more of them. Again, there's a whole litany of people we could talk about, but you got to know Lewis Jones very well, again, who we lost this year.
Yes.
Again, one of the people that you can look back and say, just a joy to know. Watch him on the field. I still, you always say he's your favourite player, but also then you get to know him after he's finished playing.
He became a larger-than-life character after he'd finished playing. He was a very, very clever gentleman. He taught in schools, I believe it was mathematics, and he was always interested in you. He wasn't the sort of guy that he wanted to sell himself. So he was an absolute joy to be with, there's no question. Other people like that, I'll go back. Dickie Williams, who played standoff half and captain of Leeds, was the city engineer of Leeds City Council. And in later years, when I started in the construction industry, we met again, and we reminisced quite a lot.
And Maurice Bamford, another one who,
Maurice Bamford worked for me, and he worked in the same manner as he would run a rugby league team, and he would try and run a site of mine in that manner, so he didn't last very long.
Jerry Round, did he?
Jerry Round.
A Wakefield connection?
Yeah, Jerry Round came to work for me as an engineer, having been the chief engineer of Kirkburton Council. And he was also a very, very talented player. But coming into work on a Monday morning, he hobbled in, and by Thursday he was fit again to play the following week. And it was a great sadness when he lost his life in that motor accident in Bradford, when he was at the height of his career. But another guy that was an absolute joy to know.
And we need to mention it because we haven't yet on the programme, but obviously we lost Sid Hines this week, who again you would have seen as a player, as a coach, as a player coach.
I saw Sid very badly sent off at Wembley.
Well, you as a fan,
was Mr. Murphy laughing his socks off when he was sent off. 1 minute his dad is Murphy, and the next minute he's laughing his socks off. But again, Sid was a character. You don't find these sort of guys today. A larger-than-life character who everybody would listen to. So he was a wonderful coach.
Is this the Leeds equivalent of Water Splash then? This is the one moment in one game that whatever happens, he's always going to go back.
Loads of obituaries have been written about him. There's going to be a memorial service to him tomorrow at Headingley, which is lovely that the club are putting that on because he passed away in Australia, so they want to commemorate him fittingly over here. But everything will lead with the first man to be sent off at Wembley, and he was a tough guy, but he was so much more than that. But won 13 of 15 finals, coached 7 finals, was never on the losing side. But let's start with him being sent off at Wembley, and in the World Cup final at Headingley in 1970.
And you compared Anna Butcher to him.
Yeah,
but
I think
she
so.
didn't know who he was.
No, but I don't think we'll be mentioning that at the moment.
She's got to come out of time, hasn't she?
Yeah, they need her. We got presents.
So much above his expectation.
Well, he was a
amazing
scrum half in schoolboy rugby league and ended up being one of the world's greatest centres.
Sure.
Yes, we need to thank Joe, who sent us both a mug.
Oh yes, it's rattling, which is a concern.
Picture House 77.
I think they follow us on Blue Sky or Twitter.
And I have to say, I've been on the site and they do some fabulous mugs. He's very kindly sent one of the great John Holmes.
Oh, wonderful!
Saying thanks for all the great podcasts.
Yeah, mine is unfortunately.
Don't worry,
We'll fix it.
I can stick your handle like I stuck
mine. But I can also use it as a thing to put my. Oh, no, it's David Toppers.
Oh, wonderful! Another fine player.
So thank you very much indeed, Joe, for your kind words about the podcast and the thought of actually sending us something. Well, should we say award-nominated podcast?
Award-nominated podcast, yeah. Please vote for us. I'd say please vote for us, but we're not going to win, so.
Well, you don't know. You never know.
Well, we're up against Sky, and they've got like hundreds of thousands of followers.
Yeah, but nothing in comparison to you.
Well, I know that. But,
Well, our followers here.
I mean, I'd like to say that, but just in case we might upset John Wilkin because he said Leeds have been useless for years.
Whereas we've got somebody on who knows they've been useless for years.
Ryan knows me. I'm going to say Cameron Smith. John Wilkins says you're useless, but you've been a captain and stuff. What do you want to say, John? Because that's how you get media coverage these days. You just say something John Wilkins has said. And then,
The trouble is you're then pandering to the algorithm that makes John Wilkin even more
like
popular.
it's like that Ryan Hall sign for whoever he asks, because it's not that Ryan Hall, it's a different Ryan Hall. Should we play a quick game of Who Am I? Because it's Christmas.
The only thing is you'll show us up.
Well, it's okay because the first three that I've picked, or that came out.
Can we edit it if we get it wrong?
Well, yeah, we can do. The first few actually are people I've heard of, so that's good. Especially the top one. I was born in Barkston Ash, England, in 1948. A young star with Castleford, I represented Great Britain in 1970 before joining the Manly Sea Eagles the following season.
Malcolm Reilly.
Yes, correct.
Barkston Ash in an NRL game.
This is the top card on the game.
Wow.
I was born in Dewsbury, England in 1988.
1988.
Yeah.
Right.
Starting my career with Bradford.
It's not Dewsbury.
Well,
It's
it's
Liverpool.
one of four. I debuted for Great Britain against New Zealand as an 18-year-old in 2007. I joined the South Sydney Rabbitohs in 2010 and won the Clive Churchill Medal in the club's 2014 Grand Final win and was ignored by the BBC Sports Personality of the Year.
How rude.
All right.
But now I'm now coach at Warrington.
It's Sam Burgess.
We'll have to quit while we're ahead in a minute.
Well, I can't read one of those, that's okay. It's a word I can't pronounce, so that's okay. I was born in Brisbane in 1983. At Logan Brothers Jr., I made my NRL debut for the Melbourne Storm in 2002. I was originally a halfback but switched to hooker and broke into the Queensland Origin team in 2003.
I share a name with the captain of, or co-captain of Leeds Rhinos.
Correct. So they go by the...
That's very clever.
there's loads
So
of-
what do you do? Do you have to go around?
Yeah, there's an actual... It's going to make that noise, that board games, mate. There's an actual board.
You could be a star in the pub.
Oh, I don't know.
There's a pub quiz.
There's a board. There's all your favourite NRL mascots
Huh?
there. I've just broken the Gold Coast Titan. Not a West Tiger though. So they're all there. And then there's all these questions and
So what do you win? Presumably the Winfield Cup.
yeah. Which club did Brett Kamala go to after leaving the Northern Eagles? That kind of thing.
Cronulla.
So this was well worth the 20p I paid for it. What club did Michael Morgan play for at the 2015 NRL Auckland Nines?
Did he play for North Queensland?
He did. See? I'll stump you on this one. Who sang the Australian national anthem at the 2015 NRL Grand Final?
Elton John.
No, it was someone called Jessica. But there you go. What are the in 2017? What are the primary home colours of Manly? So if we said Hunslet and I said green and orange, I'd be banned.
Yeah, I presume they haven't changed their primary colours, have they? Maroon and white.
Maroon and white. So, and then there's all kinds of stuff going on.
Where did you find this game?
eBay, everything's on
eBay.
But, yeah, so
Try your your independent retailer first.
yes.
So is there a trophy? That's the big thing.
No, it's just bits of.
Huh?
That's it.
There you go.
Has this come all the way from Australia for?
Well, someone's brought it from Australia, but I did not import it. If I imported it from Australia, it would cost an absolute fortune.
So it's all round to yours on Christmas Day to play the footy
the
show.
official footy. So we need an official 40-20 board game now.
Or,
which is just I'll put 40-20 over.
Super League need to take a leaf out of this.
Super League board game.
Yes.
So come on, ING, where's your board game?
Well, send them a message.
We've won the thing.
Did you watch Sports Personality last night?
I didn't.
But
You're
Wigan,
the only person who watched it.
yeah, no, Wigan. Well,
I know Wigan won the team.
which is great. Isn't
Yeah.
it? 30 years after they last won it,
Yeah, but it was.
Matty Peet spoke really well
Did he?
about
surprised.
the game more
Yes.
than about Wigan and what the game means.
Right.
Do you think we get the publicity we deserve?
Certainly not. Certainly not. I'm very concerned that the amount of rugby league that is being shown on television is detrimental to the prospects of growing the game further. I think people become television addicts and don't go to the grounds and watch the games. Whether it's something IMG have negotiated, but I don't think it's doing the game a lot of good.
The counter argument would be that crowds haven't gone down.
But they haven't gone up.
More concerning, would you say, is losing London? Because I know, again, I've never asked you if you're an expansionist or a traditionalist, but you've enjoyed trips to Catalan. I know that.
Yes.
You would be passionate that the sport would be played in a capital at a very high level. We've had some good days down in London, even watching the Broncos. Do you think the spread of the game, is that something that we don't do well enough?
We don't. If I had the opportunity to put forward an idea to the Rugby League,
use this as your platform.
They're all watching.
Oh, thank you. I would select, by agreement with the clubs, 17 or 18 top-class players, a couple from every club that plays Rugby League, and make them the basic of a team in London. It does need a club of that quality in London, because then it will expand. I mean, they're dragging to Las Vegas to expand the game, and yet we're not doing it properly in this country. And the only way you would do it to get a lot of good players is to get some Australian players coming across, for the Rugby League authorities to invest properly themselves into Rugby League London. And they could do that quite properly, I would have thought. And I would have expected IMG would be able to get sponsor if they were going to go about it, bringing in some star players from both overseas and this country to be the formation of a club in London that plays at a good high standard. So at the moment, they're marvellous players, but they're out of the depth.
It's the kind of thing they do in America when they bring a team into the NFL or whatever. They have an expansion draft where you can protect so many of your players, but then you can pick one from each club.
Yes.
That kind of thing.
And I would go along with that. And I then think it would make a strong team in London, and not a team that's hanging on by its fingernails.
Particularly when you add it to some of the young talent that they are capable of generating, and then gets picked off by everybody else.
Yeah, but that way the young talent would mature with good players and stay as the next generation for a London team. It is important. I think it's also important that the game in France gets a team like Toulouse back up into the Premiership, so that you're getting a stronger base of Rugby League in France. I think then it spreads to other European countries when they see. But at the moment, it's not working properly.
But the wheelchair might do that, which would be
great. Well, that is
such
a blessing.
We were talking with James that the Super League next year is going to include Edinburgh.
Really?
Edinburgh Giants have just been admitted to the... So again, you're talking about not just a team, but a nation team.
Right.
Which hopefully will improve the quality of the Scottish national team. But it means, again, that Rugby League fans can now pick Edinburgh as a destination. And then
absolutely.
We can't do that with the running game.
Well, the running game should be ashamed of itself.
I think we're going to be on the bus. We'll hopefully be on the bus soon.
I bet you delete that.
No. We don't delete anything.
Well, delete not anything. Anything makes me do more work. And I don't want to do any more work than I've got to do myself. It's been a strange... This year seems to have gone on forever now. I am ready for it to end. There's no more internationals, are there? There's no more...
There's nothing anywhere in the world for at least a week until Boxing.
America beat South Africa, that happened.
Twice.
There's Daniel Vito retired from professional wrestling to become
an American Rugby League winner.
And now he's probably back to doing professional wrestling again.
Now we get a full 10 days, I think, where there is no Rugby League anywhere in the world that we'll be reporting on, and the Boxing Day game starts.
How do you live through that period?
Sleep.
Your kits come out? No, they're all you. Squad numbers? You're excited by squad numbers?
Fixtures, teams are playing each other.
Captains. Who does the captain
Media
challenge
day.
at Leeds?
Well,
What
that's
is your reaction to this new idea of having two captains?
Captains. Well, I mean, Ron Smith got told off for not having a captain. So what,
Yeah.
so when I got to the Leeds media day, shall I say to Brad Arthur, you've got two
I
captains? That's a
suspect
terrible idea.
the good thing, I suspect, is that Cameron Smith won't play every minute of every game. So when he's not on the field, you don't lose that leadership. But who does the captain's
He's
challenge?
a great player, but he isn't a captain.
So, but Ash Handley is, whose testimonial is everything that I think they want in a captain.
So why don't they make him captain?
Well, there's your question for
Brad Arthur. And Cameron Smith, the national.
I did ask him. We had, as Taverners, we did meet with Brad Arthur and the director,
Ian Blease.
please. And we did say, are you appointing a new captain this year? And he said, I'll tell you next week. We never expected him to appoint two.
Castle would have got a senior leadership group and a captain and another
And two vice captains.
Two vice captains.
So in
I
terms
could
of...
understand captain, vice captain,
Yeah.
but I asked the question whether they would use Connor in the spine by putting him at loose forward and moving Cameron Smith up as he's getting a bit bigger now into the second row or front row. And he said, Brad Arthur said, no, we've signed Connor to cover and pressurise the full-backs, the centres and the half-backs. I said, but he's got a talent if you can control him.
It'd be interesting. That will be
Utility
interesting.
player.
So I suppose as it's the end of the year, we should look back on 2024.
I'd rather not.
But it's not just about that. I mean, as you said, it's been a very long year. So I suppose the landmarks in the year, clearly Wigan winning the World Club Challenge at the beginning of the season against Penrith in a full stadium was a magnificent start to the season.
Wonderful.
Then we got Las Vegas, which didn't include Super League teams or women's teams the first time, but seems to have grown within a very short space of time. I think we were all singularly unimpressed with Magic Weekend because the games weren't great and the venue wasn't fantastic at Ellen Road.
Can I just break in and tell you that the Betfred Wheelchair Super League has been expanded?
It hasn't.
I know, which is pointless because we're recording this.
We recorded an hour and a half ago. Well, I'm glad it has.
Yeah. Well, there's a Championship West and a Championship East.
It's almost as if we knew.
Yeah. Oh, dear. Anyway, sorry, you were talking about...
No, I was just saying how everybody's 2024 had been, and I was just picking out some of the lines. I thought Wembley was good this year.
Yeah.
Yes.
Had a really good feel about it. The attendance, the playoffs were good because again, it wasn't by any means certain who was going to get to Old Trafford, and even if Wigan were the favourites, we didn't know who they'd be playing, but it could have been a Lee or a Salford. It turned out to be Hull KR's first trip, and we're approaching 70,000 there. Thought the international series against Samoa was really good, but we also got to watch all the Pacific stuff. Do we think that 2024 has been a decent year?
You wouldn't say it was the greatest season ever, would you? But it was all right. There was nothing where you'd go, what a terrible year it was. And everyone got upset about the red cards, didn't they, at the start of the year, and then everyone forgot to get...
Then it dried up.
Yeah. And then they came back again.
So do we have reason for optimism on the basis of what you saw in 2024? Bearing in mind you've seen it for nearly 80 years.
Yes, I'm concerned that they're not making the right moves to expand the game properly. Yes, I'm sure that Rugby League will, in the areas that is played with the clubs that are playing it, will continue to be very attractive, and the bigger teams will attract fairly reasonable crowds. I mean, you talk today about a reasonable crowd being 15,000 and above. I come from an era where 40,000, or if you talk about the Halifax-Warrington game at Oddsall being a minimum of 160.
You weren't there, were you? You weren't one of those who were there.
No, if Leeds had been playing. I remember once going to see Leeds play Warrington at Oddsall, and we couldn't get near. I had to walk, got around up there at half time. But that's when it was at its absolute best, as far as the public was concerned.
But
And
there
I
weren't
think-
competing attractions in those days.
No, and television didn't destroy. I think television is far too much being shown on it to the detriment of encouraging people to go to the grounds and support the game.
Problem is they pay all the money, don't they? That's the
I know,
that's the problem.
but
We could use the television
they
better.
could always go to Mr. Musk and ask him. If he's going to give some to Mr. Farage, you might give some to Rugby League.
Well, we've had Farage, Musk, and Corbyn mentioned, so I think we've covered all
bases.
the
All
extreme
bases.
ends of. No, I don't want to say extreme.
No.
Maybe I should have eaten myself. But no, I'm not going to bother. Can't be bothered. Can't be bothered. It's been an okay. I mean, the World Champion final was fun.
Wakefield, I think, proved
no,
that.
we're back now.
But I think it proved that, like Hull KR had done before them, there is a way that clubs can rebuild themselves
And you know,
and make themselves sustainable.
the unfortunate message for Salford fans is you need someone rich. That's or who's probably got some money. Who's going to throw it around.
The only good thing is that because Salford and London are now looking for investors, and because there is a grading system that shows the return they'll get if they do certain things right, rather than just their previous Salford owner who supposedly had money that just went out and bought a group of players, then the interesting thing is you would now invest in Rugby League, and you wouldn't necessarily get an instant return, but you know, as Hull KR did when they attracted their new directors, you can promise them that if we do all of this right, we will be a Super League team, we will be a sustainable Super League team, and then on the field we can match our ambition off the field, whereas too often it's been, here's a load of money, here's some players, we're great for a year, the investor leaves or runs out of money, and suddenly the club doesn't exist anymore. So I think that's quite important. I think the other thing is a potential Ashes series here at the end of 2025, which I think we've got.
We need to turn that word potential into actually happening, and here's the venues and here's the tickets. Because it's Christmas!
The interesting thing about that is that the word on the street, if there indeed ever is a street, is that it's being brokered by a promoter. So it's not necessarily the RFL talking to Peter Volandis, it's somebody who's seen the potential, the commercial potential of the sport, and it's also the NRL saying there's certain things we can give up to make the game stronger in the Northern Hemisphere. This might just work. So I don't think it's just a question of the RFL picking 3 grounds and booking them. I think there is an intermediary who is brokering this. And again, that's quite exciting because if the sport can bring in
if it brings
innovative
people like that into the game, and then you go back to what we were saying about London, you might then get somebody of that ilk who says, okay, I'll support a team from London financially to make sure it gets on its feet.
and we had Richard Branson for a while, but again couldn't keep him involved because we didn't have that kind of structure where we said to him, if you put your money in, you'll be able to lead your team out at Wembley probably more than once, or you'll be at Old Trafford, or you'll be in the playoffs, or whatever it might be. But
I was hoping IMG would have these sort of ideas.
I think what we found from that relationship is that IMG can suggest anything in the world, but the clubs have still got to vote it in, and that's the possible flaw in the relationship. You've got to change the governance.
And until such times as that governance is changed, then I cannot see that Rugby League will expand in the manner which it deserves to.
I think 25 having an Ashes series here, leading into a World Cup in 26, where I think England will be as... I know they got to the final in 2017, but I'm not sure too many of us ever thought they would win it. We hoped they would win it. I think we might go to Australia in 2026 with a genuine chance of winning it. And that's what the Aussies want as well. If they're going to put International Rugby League on, they want people to turn up in the same way that Tonga are now drawing the crowds and New Zealand are getting back on a foot. And if England can go over there and have a genuine chance of winning a World Cup, people will support it. So.
How does the NRL finance themselves? They've obviously done it right because they're in a very, very strong financial position. And why doesn't the RFL here go and learn a few lessons?
I think part of that is expansion. We get caught up in a debate about Do we look after the traditional areas and not waste money on expansion? I think they realised that in Sydney in particular, they'd reached saturation. So they went initially to Brisbane and to Melbourne and to New Zealand. Now they're going to Papua New Guinea, which was announced last week, which everybody's saying is amazing.
Thank goodness for China and their international expansion.
But what they've realised over time, it's not an overnight thing, and it does depend very much on who is in charge, is that they weren't sustainable in 2 states. They would be the major sport, but they weren't even the biggest sport in Victoria.
Right.
So they've had to work hard and use the chest of money that they've got to keep moving the game forward. So the Pacific now, every young kid wants to play rugby league. I think that the players who played for heritage rather than birth, that meant Tonga will be suddenly becoming a nation. Now Samoa have reached a World Cup final. Kids now are starting to say, I really need to represent wider than just an aspiration to play for Queensland or New South Wales. And I think that has garnered TV money. But they're also investing. They bought 3 hotels.
Well,
because they want to put in a
so there's lessons to be learned.
I don't like the George Hotel, please.
But it almost seems an arrogance that the Rugby Football League can see how successful the NRL has produced its business and doesn't go over there and say, okay, teach us what we should be doing.
I think the sadness is looking back at the start of Super League, 1995. We got £87 million, the most money the game has ever had and is ever likely to get. And if you're looking from the perspective of it'll be 2025 next year, so it's the 30-year anniversary, what is the legacy of that money? What have we got to show for it? And I think that's the sadness.
So it wasn't used properly.
It was predominantly used to pay players, which is fine. I think players should be paid, but what we didn't do was invest in centres of excellence or expand the game and say, rather than give an equal distribution to everybody, we'll make a dispensation for Celtic Crusaders or Wales.
More people go to watch, then money comes into the game, and you pay your players that way.
And that's vested interest, which is, funnily enough, even reading Rugby Victoriana, happened in 1895.
Really? I can't believe it.
I know, it's in our DNA.
I mean, I don't want to say I pay no attention to it. I didn't realise that York Women's shirt it's the walls on the wall is in the pattern.
Ah, right.
Which is proof that I actually don't get as close to the women's players as some people accuse me of.
Very good.
So we're excited for the 2020. At least we're going to win the grand final. We had a dream they're going to get to the grand final, win it.
What, men
all of them. I'm switching to Legion.
These new players have got to learn to play with each other first
Yeah.
and play with the local players that are already there. And it doesn't happen overnight. It never does. And if anybody thinks that Leeds are suddenly going to be world beaters next week, they're going to be disappointed.
I think Wakefield win on Boxing Day. That's it. We're going to win the grand final.
I just think the interesting thing about Super League next year, which a lot of teams can get excited about, is the base has been broadened.
Yeah.
So Catalan weren't great last year. They've got something to Saints weren't great last year. They've got something to prove. Lee have now established themselves as a team that either gets to the finals or the playoff. Can Hull KR kick on? Logic would say from the recruitment that they've done that they probably will.
Yeah.
Hull obviously are an unknown quantity, but they'll want to be a lot better than they were. Leeds would be in the same category as Catalan and St Helens. So I think genuinely at the start of this season, a lot of teams, Warrington, 70 years since they last won it, they got close this year. Can they get over the line? With new era at Huddersfield with a new coach, I just think that everybody's got something to be excited about.
It's the first person we've had on the podcast who remembers when Warrington were champions.
It's me.
Just to upset the Warrington fans. Have you ever worn that shirt? Because I imagine you put that on and pretend to.
No, we're here to preserve history. It's just amazing to be donating items like that.
It's amazing.
One of the other ones that was donating, the family still hold, is Jim Bruff's Great Britain shirt from the 1936 tour, and all we're about is preserving heritage.
He's not as big as I thought he was.
And you can read the numbers. The numbers are clear.
Yes, absolutely. Right, a fabulous player.
Proper Huntslet shirts.
Went to Hunslet.
Yes. Like a lot of Leeds players did.
Part of the exchange deal, I got Brian Shaw,
Oh,
that won the championship for the first time.
I remember that day, the outcry.
You'd have been at Odsal that
Yes,
day.
I was. When Brian Shaw signed for Leeds, the outcry was unbelievable.
I mean, that's the other thing about transfers. These days, there isn't something that you don't know. It's all on social media. But you have told me tales of players turning up and playing for the opposition team. So you'd be playing, I don't know, Wakefield on Boxing Day, and somebody who you thought was playing for Wakefield would be playing for Leeds, or vice versa.
Absolutely.
That's the first time that anybody knew about it.
Absolutely.
The Green Post as well on a Saturday night. You used to get
absolutely. Wait
transfer
for it.
speculation in there.
And wait for it. For
On
the
the way
Green
back.
final to come out.
On the way back from the game.
Yes. And the whole report was in there already.
Social media, not being offensive, but that had already been there. What happened to the green ones, the pink ones, and the...
It's a great shame.
You used to get the full report of the first half and a paragraph of the second half.
Yeah.
And the results in the stop press.
Correct.
But it was part of that game, wonderful game.
was.
Walking back from Headingley to get a green final, to read about the game you'd literally just watched, was amazing.
Is there anything that you'd bring back that isn't there, apart from the big crowds and so forth?
No, they've got the star players. Each team has got leading players that are attractive to watch. I don't think actually on the playing pitch there's an awful lot you could criticise or say if they did this it would improve it. I just think that the management of rugby league generally is very poor.
Nothing new.
No, I guess the last thing we should talk about, because again we haven't properly faced him on this podcast, is the work of Kevin Sinfield. Again, somebody who watched play
Absolutely.
right from when he
correct.
came through as a
Absolutely.
16-year-old.
Absolutely.
Marvelled in the fact, I think you were one of the people that would agree, that perhaps the greatest captain the team have ever had, not
Without
necessarily
a
the
doubt.
greatest player, but
Without
what
a
he's
doubt.
now gone on and done, and another £1 million raised at the beginning of December. Rob Burrows' MND care facility is now reached the target to have it built. That's something we should be incredibly proud of.
We are. There's no question about it. And we're all waiting to see whether he becomes Sir Kev. It's about time he did. I know there's a time scale on these things, but I think for somebody so special as he has, who's put his heart and soul into MND for the benefit of everybody but himself, really, is such an example to how human beings could be, that they should break that silly rule and say, come on, Sir Kev.
And get him involved in running the game.
Oh, absolutely.
Running everything.
Just Prime Minister.
Just everything. There's no more words you can say about him. Everything. I think I read in the magazine. It was just before Rob died, wasn't it? That they were on Blue Peter, and they got given the gold Blue Peter, the highest honour you can get, the gold Blue Peter badge. And the fact that he has the love and respect and everything else from the general public
Absolutely.
probably means more than.
Absolutely. There's no question. I don't know. I don't think what his next effort's going to be. Fly to the moon or something.
Well, he's done the Christmas message in the magazine, because everything he says is everything that we could be.
Well, I'm
better
looking
people.
forward to reading that on my way down to the Canary Islands.
Well, you're very kind.
Well, we're all in.
I'll be at Headingley.
While you're both watching Wakefield.
Oh, I won't be there. no, I've got better stuff.
I thought you were a die-hard supporter.
Got to jump on that. I do it for the crowd. I support Leeds Rhinos women in wheelchair teams. That's all right. That should be. It's fine. The Wakefield women's team.
Oh, maybe it will when they have their
When
regeneration.
they're good again now. Yeah. No. What we should do with ending this segment is hear from Kevin Simpson when I spoke to him a few weeks ago.
Oh, that'd be
because that would like link into.
Something like we planned it.
Exactly, because we haven't got a bit going into this yet, so we're going to work that out.
This has been jigsaw pieces that don't quite fit together.
It's very much like something from a charity. Thank you for coming in, Geoff.
My
It's good to
pleasure.
see you, and we'll see you next year.
I think also the perspective that you can give is great for modern day watchers of the game that realise that it's not new. We've seen it all before.
Yes.
It's all happened before.
Yes.
But don't fall out of love with it like you
Rugby
have
League nearly collapsed, didn't it?
in the early 70s.
Yes. And they're still.
But the fact that you've stuck with it all your life, everybody watches
It's a game. It's a game better than most games.
You just mentioned you didn't enjoy running. That's a great inspiration for people out there who want to do something like you've done. What would be the message to those who don't have the physical fitness, who aren't as perhaps mentally strong as they think they are, to take on a challenge, not quite as extreme as yours, but they want to do something like you for their mate?
Yeah, Richard, I think the big thing amongst all this, and it's been the message we've tried to get across over the last few years, has been you don't have to run marathons, but we can all do a little bit. And what that little bit looks like is different for all of us. And that doesn't have to be just a little bit for MND. That can be a little bit for cancer. It can be a little bit for dementia. It can be a little bit for whatever illness people have a real affinity or a relationship with. It could be just reaching out to someone who needs a hand over Christmas. So it's the little bits that matter. And if we all do a little bit, they add up to a massive bit. So if anyone was thinking of getting off the couch and doing a 5K, or getting off the couch and they want to do a marathon next year, they want to do Rob's marathon next year, so like it'll be the best thing I've ever done. It'll be brilliant, and it'll be fundraising. I found this out after the first challenge, and I don't mind admitting it. I know why I'm here now. I know why I'm here, and that's to try and help and support people in the MND community. And to realise that at 40, I think is pretty special. There's a real fine line between adversity and fulfilment. And I think through putting yourself through some brutal training, getting yourself ready for running 7 days is the adversity bit. But at the end of it, there's a massive amount of fulfilment because you're helping people. And I think, especially around this time of year, it's great to be doing it in the run up to Christmas because the importance of giving, and we all know what you get back, how you feel when you give something, and it's important to somebody and you make somebody smile. That's the big message through this as well. Just do a little bit, and we can all do a little bit.
Is that in the modern parlance, I guess, people finding their why? Is that how important it is that you go out and do something, and it makes you, however hard it is, it will make you feel better in the end?
Yeah, I just think hard things, tough things are challenging because they bring some pain, or they make it uncomfortable, or it's asking you to do something you don't really want to do. And normally that's down to pain, or as humans, we want to take the easiest route. But when you're doing something like that for others and you put yourself through it and you make a bit of a sacrifice, I just think the rewards at the end of it are very, very special. And is there a selfish element to that for the team for doing what we do? Yeah, of course there is, because it makes you feel good at the end of it. But it doesn't mean we should stop doing it. I think there's far more good that comes from it than not doing it. So we always have a choice. And thankfully, I put the message out every year. It normally takes me a couple of weeks to get my head right after a challenge, but I put the message out and the team respond within seconds that they want to go again. And it's the best team I've been involved in. So they're all brilliant.
We've just heard from Kevin Sinfield, but what you really need to see is my trousers. I mean, look at those.
Oh my goodness. One of the few times
showing
I'm
a bit
glad
of
I
length.
didn't put my glasses on. What's on those, Richard?
Candy canes.
Candy canes. Nice.
£3 from the Salvation Army. Unfortunately, the jacket didn't fit, otherwise I'd have had the full suit, but
Yeah, you're a disarming Lothario, aren't you?
I think you put that on.
Well, the hat as well.
Yeah. Complete the image.
Ian knows too many backstage secrets, that's the problem. But he's not going to.
What's on that? I haven't got my glasses on, so what's
It's
actually
the
on
official World Cup Santa hat from the World Cup
nice.
delayed, so that was good.
Right. Are they still paying them off?
I think Steve Mascold's got them in a lockup somewhere in London. The Arthur Daly of Rugby League, apart from he pays taxes. I just thought I'd throw that in. I think we start. Should we just start? Because I think we started.
When you say, shall we just start? We never just start.
This Christmas special, especially, and you'll realise when you don't watch it back, has been an absolute shambles.
Right. Has it really? What are you recording in order?
Yeah, we have.
Sequence.
Yeah, but we didn't really start.
As I understand it, you've just spoke to Phil's dad.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. We
so is your guest list today just people you know?
Yeah, that's this whole podcast is people we know. I asked all the people I know, they didn't want to come on. Dodge is busy.
Can I invoice this as an article?
Yeah. Well, if you get any ideas out of it, absolutely.
Don't let right in the magic that people get paid in.
Oh right, I see. I understand. Yeah.
It's everyone's favourite 4020 magazine columnist, Ian Boldsworth.
Yeah, everyone's favourite. They go straight to that page.
You're my second favourite, but you know.
Well, they go to Louis first, and then they go to you.
But does Louis actually write his, or is it done with AI?
There's no AI in any of the magazines.
But you know, I mean, it's sort of like, by the way, as always, I adore Louis. He's one of my favourite, not just players, but people. I like Louis a lot. But it does feel like he's typed in, say something about the telly. And then it comes up, been watching I'm a Celebrity.
We don't want to shed light on magic, clearly.
Yeah.
And it may be that somebody does provide the topics for him to talk about.
Oh, okay.
And it may be that it's a conversation that then becomes something that's written down.
Ah, so I see. So he's not, because I did always question whether he'd be able to type.
Well, he's able to. But you know, the infinite number of monkeys theory.
Is this like? Have we got a massive exclusive here? Is his column ghostwritten from his ideas?
No, to be honest, some of the phraseology he comes up with, nobody else could. So it's as authentic
on principle
as it could possibly be. But it may well be he doesn't think the topics he's going to be asked about in advance. He's presented with them to get his spontaneous reaction to them.
Understood. I'm incredibly impressed with Louis McCarthy Scarsbrook.
He's been with us right from the very beginning because I think he's just got a great story to tell. And clearly over the course of the 13 odd years he's been writing it, you get to know the things that are going to trigger him.
Yeah. He's easy, isn't it?
So that's what you ask him.
But also he's like, I'm really impressed. Genuinely, this is sincere. In somebody who's retired from the game and with no airs and graces, immediately got into another career of great worth and nobility as well, that utilises his physical ability to some extent. I mean, liability potentially as a fireman, but at the same time, I genuinely, hand on heart, find that really impressive. To make that jump like that, still got a foot in the game as well, but also not looking back is what it feels like. I think it's really impressive.
Well, you could imagine as well that he'd be great for morale in an industry where we are now talking potential life and death.
Yeah.
Everything he's learnt from being that gregarious teammate, I reckon, is really valuable in the fire service.
But playing devil's advocate, do you want that in your ear when you're up a ladder?
Depends if you're rescuing a cat or not.
Yeah, but if you're really high up and you're an inch from the cat, do you want here, mate?
Can they understand it? Can they understand it? Have they got a what's the St Helens accent? What would you class that as?
I don't know, because my accent is all over the place. Well, I was born in Warrington. I was born at Warrington Hospital, if you want to go technicalities. But I went to school in St Helens and stuff. But I've got a bit of Hull in my accent for some unknown reason. No idea why, but I've got a bit of Hull in my accent.
It's not something you'd really want to admit to be fair.
It just fascinates me. I don't know how it's happened. I really, really don't know how it's happened, where that influence has come in at any point.
Everything's
I don't know what.
Sorry.
Everything's what?
No, ever since Gavin Willisey pointed out that you can tell that my accent is not wholly West Yorkshire, I've become aware of it.
I've been a bit of a nomad though. I didn't stay in the northwest, so I'm sort of down Warwickshire now, and I've been all over London and all over the place as well. But I don't think I've never lived in Hull.
Maybe it's like
N-
colour mixing that when you put Warrington and Warwickshire together, you get Hull.
Potentially, yeah, potentially. But I don't think I ever had a Warrington accent either. It would have been closer to St Helens, my accent, but I just don't. I don't know. I don't know.
One of the people we've had in this jigsaw we're making for Christmas that doesn't actually fit
Yes,
together. We've got some
yes,
nice pieces, but there's no picture on the box.
right.
Is James Simpson. He started us off, and I know that in your last column, and
Yeah,
you're passionate about wheelchair rugby league and the people that
yeah.
play it, and the fact that we don't make enough out of it.
No, I think well, certainly 4020 does. I think enough is made out of it. I think the growth within that sport is there for all to see. I think everything is right about it. Everything. Other than the way it just looks aesthetically on television. I just think on television it just doesn't look proper. And so that was my that was my kind of take on it, was that everything is in place here. I think I said in that article it was something about most people when they start a business are so giddy about starting the business that they get business cards printed and they get all the aesthetics right, but they're not actually doing the thing they're meant to be doing. That's the last thing they think about. It's a common mistake. I think with wheelchair rugby, it's the other way round. I think they've done it the proper way. They've established the product. They've made, I even hate calling it a product, but you know what I mean. They've made it a really solid thing. They've got amazing players, amazing communication with the press and media. They've got you rarely see a bad game. It does happen, but you rarely see a bad game. It's certainly not as commonplace as it is in the running game that you'll see, where I don't know, this year maybe 70% of games you'd have been like, fine, it was fine. Those real proper great games seem to be deteriorating. I don't know if that might be the way I'm looking at it. Maybe that's because I follow Saints. Maybe that's what's been going on there.
I mean,
But I do,
our
but
summation
no,
of the year has
I
been
watch
just
other
there.
games. Well, yeah, and that's fine. I've loved Saints season this year. I think I might be the only Saints supporter that's loved this. Really liked it. Like I feel for Paul Wellens when when he's getting grief because that's not his fault. The amount of injuries that we had and everything we were up against, that's not his fault at all. There's certain things you could say, oh, we should have done that, or we should have brought so and so on earlier. But it's no different to what he says in the press conference himself after it. He'll just go, do you know what? That's my bad. I've messed up there. So if someone's gonna, just say when they think they've done something wrong, they're learning, they're trying to develop into the coach that we all know he can be, then what do you do? Do you just it's like telly programs where they take them off the air after 1 week because it hasn't got the viewing figures. It's like, well, wait, these things just have to build up. And I've loved seeing new players. I've loved seeing young lads come in, be thrown into the lines down like that and excel. It's been brilliant, brilliant. Jake Burns has blown me away this year.
The other thing you write about and talk about a lot is a sense of entitlement, which
Yeah, I
is
do have that.
no, no, you don't, because you just said you've enjoyed the season. But
Yeah,
I mean, we are reflective of society, and that is something that clearly is an issue
yeah,
in a wider political sense. But every club that is, to use the word that supporters hate, in transition, which I think you've acknowledged
yeah,
Saints might be, there's a core of people that have a sense of entitlement. They always have to win every week. The
yeah,
competition's got to be close, but their team's got to win by 40-0.
yeah.
Have you
Well,
noticed that this year with some Saints fans?
tons. But even in transition, even the phrase in transition is entitled because it implies that you are going to be the thing you were again. That's the arrogance of it. We're in transition. We're going back to where we were, but it's a transitional period. And it's like ask Bradford how long their transition period's been going on for. It's not, none of this is a given at all. So entitlement is a very odd thing in any sport because it's just not a given. It can't be. It can't be that you're going to win every week. And my take, and it's an unpopular opinion, and I think you disagree with this, Phil, but I genuinely feel this. 4 years on the bounce winning that grand final got really boring. Like 3 years in, certainly, it was like, that'll do now. because we were walking it, we were just coasting it. It's like watching a professional team play kids. It's just like it's not fun to watch. I want to see them lose. When we got knocked out of the Challenge Cup, it was like, good, I'm glad we've got knocked out of the Challenge Cup. Now there's a bit of jeopardy here. Now there's something going on. But it does. I remember Wigan fans in the 80s, some of them saying the same. It's like, it just gets boring going Wembley every year.
And yet the strange thing about that great Wigan team, which I know we've used the word Wigan, and I apologise to a diehard Helens fan, is that it's the team that everybody outside of the clique remembers, most, refers to most.
Yeah, of course.
Whilst we were all saying it's terrible that they're winning everything every year, the outside world was saying, "Oh, who's this team on the front cover of Sports Week magazine? Who's this team winning sports personality? Oh, it's great to see all these Wigan players that I recognise at Wembley again this year because that's the only time I ever watch." So it's that double-edged sword that sometimes dynasties do bring new audiences.
Well, maybe it's that. So maybe it's the idea that the vastness of the achievement. So, for example, Wigan this year, exceptional, like really good. I mean, I don't have a Saints Wigan rivalry in that way. In the 80 minutes, I definitely do, but in the overall picture, I'm like, I can't say, oh, they fluked that, they got that well. It's just not, that's not happened this year. The last minute of the World Club Challenge, I would debate hugely. But other than that, you can't argue with that. And I would imagine that most Wigan fans who know out about rugby league in reality would have said the same about that then 4 years previous to it. It's just like, you just can't doubt it as brilliance. But I wonder if Wigan now go on to win it 5 times or 6 times or 7 times, or if this is the start of a long-term thing, I wonder if the achievement of this year will be completely diluted by the fact that it becomes another story. That's what happened in the 5th year with Saints, and I wanted us to win 5 years because of the 5 years we didn't win. That was the reason for that. But the whole drive for 5 tedious thing and all that, it just got, it's like, no, but that's taken away from, we've all forgot Jack Wells being the last second of that game. It just dilutes it over time, I think. Nice. That's really funny. Have you actually said what that is for?
No, it's in the magazine, isn't it? But it's the
I know you said the magazine.
Yeah, because people haven't actually. Am I the only person who's watched the documentary?
No, I think we watched it. I just think you picked on the Where's Wally bit.
Yeah, because that was.
It's really funny.
Yeah,
that is really funny though. When it's taken in isolation, it's really funny.
I'll give it to Brad Arthur when I see you. Say, Brad, next time when you're doing your Saints team talk, just make sure you.
Yeah.
Work last time, lads.
But do you know what I mean about so the 80s Wigan team? I think it kind of got diluted. Some of the great moments in that, and it was men against boys, and we can argue all the technicalities of that, but the record books show that's what happened. They were professional, no one else was. Yada yada yada. It doesn't matter now. It's in the book.
I just think. But what's interesting is that we were sold the dream under a salary cap sport, and the fact that there would be equality amongst the talent, and that we would have multiple winners, and every year you'd get to the starting line and not know who was going to win at Old Trafford, and we've only ever had 4.
Yeah, but salary cap doesn't take into account business acumen ability.
Or coaching ability in some respects.
Well, maybe, yeah, but it doesn't. Yeah, it doesn't take. But the coaches are put in place by the business. It's an overall business, so you can say to everyone in Monopoly starts with the same amount of money in the bank, and that's what you've got. But it's what you then do in the game, and in my case, that is cheating a lot. Really, I break the salary cap when I play Monopoly, but I'm not suggesting clubs should do that. I'm just saying it is a level playing field from the off financially. So it's what you do. It's so many things come into effect. So so much about how you deal and relate with your fans and your fan base, how you nurture that fan base, how you make people feel welcome, the environment you're playing in. I totally understand what's been going on with IMG and that as a whole thing. I get it, and people can go, what does it matter what there's round the pitch? What does it matter what LED board you've got? Which takes us back to the wheelchair game. Does matter. Really does matter, because how you see it and how you view it and your perception of it at entry point, the second you're there at entry point, is all important with a sport you're not familiar with. And most people are not familiar with wheelchair rugby league. Most people.
I think the other thing you say there about everybody starts off level, isn't that part of the problem that we don't have a salary cap floor? That we do allow people to be in the top level of competition who don't spend the same as
Who
others.
don't spend.
Yeah.
The only counter argument to that is Salford. I mean, notwithstanding what's been going on recently with Salford, but the argument to that is, well, Salford, you've got Challenge Cup finals, you've got grand finals, you've got, some of the best performances I saw this year in that 20% that I was speaking about were Salford games, were Salford playing, and they didn't always win. But Salford were a brilliant team to watch this year. So were Hull KR for the majority of it, but they reaped the benefits of it it seemed in a bigger way. They at the crunch moments they did fine, bar their last game. But I like Salford as a thing. If I didn't support Saints, I'd support Salford, I think. And I don't like the place.
So the question then is, why don't more people support Salford? Because clearly they're doing something incredibly admirable, which again I'd say is partly down to playing an image of their coach. The stadium that they play at fits modern requirement. It might be a little bit soulless, but clearly. So what can they
if you've
do?
got a stadium where the best way to get to it quickly is to jump off a flyover, you're in bother.
But
you know what I mean? I know they can't pick it up and move it, but these are the things that just weren't thought through. These are the things that just weren't. I know it's improved, but it's not improved enough. And it's like, I honestly don't think that the area that they're in will ever give the first damn about rugby league. I really don't. It's too saturated with football. It's too tribalistic with football as well. And I don't know. I think even kids who were wanting to go to the rugby and stuff would be not just up against the fact that they didn't know if that club was even going to exist the following week because of money issues or what have you, but also and having to give their spends to to pay for the club, to buy shares. But also I think they'd be up against peer pressure and they'd be up against what are you watching that for? We follow United or we follow City or why are you watching rugby league? I think kids would need to dare to be different for that to flourish in that geography there. So, don't know that that's. I don't know that we live in a world now where people can be individual. Weirdly, given that individuality is such a big talking point of like, oh yeah, I'm this, and this. It's like we're in a very narrow society at the moment. Step outside the norm and you're in trouble, or you can be in trouble.
Saints men, then they might transition into a butterfly or a moth. We're not sure yet, but Saints
they
women
they might never win another trophy.
Might just remain a chrysalis. I just think that happen.
No, they might not. They might not. They literally might never win another trophy. They might get relegated whenever relegation does sneak back, because it will. So whenever that happens, they might be.
Give it 2 years. Yeah, give it 2 years.
Yeah, you never know. You just don't know. So you can't be entitled because no one's entitled. It's a game. It's sport. You kick off, and whoever gets the most points wins. But that means that somebody has to get the least points. You have to just be that if you want to join in.
Old draws, but Saints women, they're good because they won the Challenge Cup again. Are they boring now because they've won four Challenge Cups in a row?
No, they're not boring because they're a developing sport. So I can allow for that when I'm watching that in terms of, in a sense, without being trite about it, we're still in the stages of women's rugby league where the result is secondary. It's not important, but it's secondary, which is why, when you were getting 100-0 blowouts, things like that, it didn't matter because they're sort of, you can see after matches at women's rugby league far more than in any other part of the game. You can see the camaraderie between clubs. There's far less, again, tribalism, I think, within the players. I think they actually see themselves as a big mass who, and some of us are over here, some of us are over here, we're going to move about all over the place all the time because they're trying to just grow the sport, which they're doing successfully. But I think at this stage, trophies are sort of irrelevant, kind of, in the bigger picture, sort of.
What about your views on the international game? Because I think in the editorial of the latest magazine, we're pretty positive about it.
Have I been brought on to have opinions?
Yeah,
I feel like
I feel a little flag off the RFL.
I know. I feel weirdly Schofield here at the moment.
I was
No,
going to say Phil or Gary, but I know which one you mean.
let's talk about brandy butter instead.
No, go on. What are you going to say about the
Well,
international game?
I think you can see a bigger picture. I think everything you've said so far and what you're right about is
Yeah.
it's not just about a club loyalty. It is, yes, first and foremost why you go on a weekly basis, but it's the health of the game as a whole. And I think you're a fan of the international game being the best it can be. There's a potential Ashes tour. We keep having to use the word potential because nobody will damn well announce it. Are
Yeah.
you excited about where the game's going from that point of view?
Not really.
No, okay, fair enough. It's been lovely
I'm
speaking
not.
to you.
I'm not. No.
You like
I'm
a biscuit?
no. I'm not really. I'm not. I think it's. Well, okay. The international game feels to me a bit like year 3 of our grand final run at Saints. Feels a bit like that. Just feels a bit like I can't be bothered with this anymore. This is. It's been so messed about with. It's been so. Like you almost wonder, were you actually trying to do it for the best, or were you trying to destroy it? Which is what I felt about Great Britain a little bit. And not that I'm one for conspiracy theories and stuff like that, but it started feeling like, are you wanting to rebirth this brand, or are you trying to kill it for good, make sure it's gone? And I'm not. I don't have any national pride or anything like that, so I'm not like we must beat the Aussies and all that sort of thing. But looking at it coldly and pragmatically, the only thing that really seems to gain any traction is Great Britain, Australia, as I would choose it to be if it was up to me, but that's perhaps a bit of nostalgia from me because of my age. But or Great Britain, New Zealand, a bit less than the Australia, but still relatively important. I like the growth of the other net. Like I like Samoa doing so well, and I like Tonga doing so well. Like all, I really like all that. I like that there's now more challenge, and it seems like I loved the World Cup. So I and that was really unusual because I wasn't anticipating loving it, but I got my World Cup planner out of 4020 magazine. I photocopied that and had it on the fridge. I filled in every single result. I watched every single game. I didn't care who won it. Genuinely didn't. I'd have liked the team I was most familiar with to have got through that semi-final because I knew more of the players and things. But I really loved watching it. I really loved getting involved in it, and I think I've missed it since it's finished. Weirdly, in some way, I think I've really missed filling out those results on the fridge. I never did it as a kid. I've never done that. It's the first time I've ever done it in my life, but I loved it. So I'd more of that, please. I suppose really, where it feels more like, well, less like. I said it in the magazine once, and I sort of half regretted it, but luckily no one reads my column. But I said it about Sean Wayne. Who was it we were playing? Not this year, it was the year before. Who did we play last year?
Played Tonga in a 3-match series.
Tonga, that's right. It was when Christian Wolf was back over and stuff with Tonga. And I just felt like, again, the perception again. I felt a bit like the way that they were speaking about Tonga, a guest here, at great expense. I really didn't like it. It felt very uncomfortable with me. Now, perhaps that's to do with also that's a lot more prevalent in real life now. A them and us sort of thing in just in general life is a lot more prevalent now, and a lot more proudly worn rather than being the shameful thing that it should be. And I just felt it just tread the line a little bit, just in press conferences and stuff, where it was like, I wouldn't come back here if I was in charge of that team. There's no way that I'd bring my team back to that sort of hostility. Hostility in the ground in the game is fine. No issue with that. No issue with people squaring up, before the game, all that sort of business. It's all great, looks great. Got an issue with it when the crowd are not paying due respect to other culture, I think, but that's, again, it's a borderline thing. But sometimes you can hear it on TV and you're like, I don't like that at all. There's a reverence for these things that should have been instilled in you as a child.
Yeah, don't boo the national anthem.
Yeah, kind of that, but not just the national anthem. Things like the haka and that sort of thing. And I always get the word wrong. Tippy, what was it called?
Sippy Tau.
Yeah, there's my respect for culture.
Yeah.
Well,
what they call that dance?
That dance, yeah.
Yeah.
The birdie
No, but that. No, I remember this year watching it on TV. I think it was the game. I think it was at Headingley, and I think it was, but one of the games. And during that, there was something was shouted, or there was some sort of murmuring in the crowd or something. Somebody mouthed off about something during that, and I just remember thinking, my dad would have leathered me for that. Like, do you know what I mean? That would have been like, no, we don't do that. You can shout at them, you can boo them, and all the rest of it when you're playing the game. But in that moment, there's a sanctuary. In that moment, there's a respect for that. That's a cultural thing that you don't have in your own culture. It's a cultural thing that deserves the respect. And if there's going to be any conflict in that, it's going to be Mikey Lewis staring it down. That's what it's going to be. But it's not for you to be stood in the crowd with a pie in one hand and a pint in the other, shouting essentially racist stuff at another nation who are a guest in your country. So that kind of thing. I can't remember how we even got to this, but it made me really angry. It did. It really upset me. It upset me rather than made me angry. I found it really upsetting and really disappointing. So yes, I was saying that I like it's a wider pool, and I want it more like the World Cup. Please, can I have one of them cakes now?
That's good. Cook Island's ball. Cook Island's ball. Christmas is coming, and some people, not all people, some people will have days off and not have to work and stuff. What kind of media should they consume in, especially stuff that you've made, so they can listen to it? I feel I don't care. I'm not up to the Wogan levels of interviewing yet. You see,
there's no crossover here. There's literally no crossover. So it's just I make other things, but I really like rugby league and I really like being involved with 4020 and stuff. But it's not. The last thing I had out was a podcast about Star Wars toy collectors. It's not about Star Wars. It's not really about the toys so much. It's about the people that collect them and the different factions. I'm a Star Wars toy collector, but I'm not like that. Not like some of the people, and some are brilliant. But it's I wanted to do a deep dive into that, like a documentary series. So it's a limited series, so it's 9 episodes, just 9 episodes. But it's a personal story as well. It's about my decision to start collecting those toys again and try and regain that collection, alongside discovering this community that was not at all how I remembered it, and quite vicious really in certain ways. But I don't know what the crossover is with rugby league there. Nostalgia. It's very nostalgia heavy. Good for Christmas. Good thing for Christmas, I reckon.
There was one person I didn't even realise we got comments on Spotify until I saw someone saying I like toys as well. So that there is at least one person. So.
Oh, you sent me that, didn't you?
Yeah.
And didn't you say? And he had a toy shop as well.
Oh, there you go. You see, it's all.
If he's watching and he wants to give me loads of free toys, and I will say how much I like his toy, I'll get it. I guarantee I will get it into my next article in 4020.
And you've been on our desk all year because you're there. That's you.
That's the Loopholes podcast. That's a different podcast.
I know.
That's about the madness of esoteria, I suppose, of sort of certain factions of that, and the loopholes within it. That's with Kate Cherrill, television star Kate Cherrill, and former nearly on television person me.
See, did the Star Wars toys take up much space? Because I realised I was going to stop buying shirts, and then I bought this one because it says Rothman's on it, which
Let me just turn you. Look,
turn down that. Oh,
there's the complete.
All of them.
Yeah, that's the complete original run, and there's stuff there's some Smurfs, which is rapidly getting out of control. There's some Star Wars toys there. I can't spin it all the way around, but there's another Star Wars shelf there as well. And this is my art studio that I'm in.
I mean, I could show you behind here, but it's just stuff.
I've seen it.
It's just stuff I've left here. That's the problem. I need to take it all home at some point.
I feel fulfilling in many ways, because whilst you're excellent with all your tech stuff and that, and whilst you're excellent, host and all the rest of it, with that comes a commitment to storage.
Well, sorry, I've brought my Garfield bag with me, so I'm going to stuff most of it in there.
Have you?
Yeah.
Oh, you said you got it from one of the high street retailers are selling them for £1.
Poundland, yeah. But I've also I bought a York shirt because it was in the sale.
That's nice.
I've not got any women's shirts, so I thought I'd buy one. So
that'd be a nice Saints speak it. That'd be a nice away kit for Saints, something like that.
But
that's nice.
Does St Helens have city walls on? Because there's a pattern there of the walls of York.
Oh, I can't see it. Nice.
But what would St Helens have on the background? Apart from that
glasswork.
Oh yeah.
So, a lot of it's been knocked down though. Now there's not really much left of it. Even the town
thing in the
centres.
shopping centre you've mentioned that eats people.
Kez the snake, kid eating snake. I've put it into a cartoon. I do this cartoon. It's a comic strip and it's a cartoon as well. I do it mainly on Patreon though, so a lot of it. That's it, Rocky Robots. That's Rocky Robot, the character. But I've started doing it recently on Instagram, just these little 3-panel strips as well, and a couple of little videos. At the time of recording, I've done one video and one. No, there's 2 3-panel strips. But I've put that kid-eating snake into that. I put it in part of his house. It was a big model of a snake that you could climb in, and I was always scared of it because I thought I'd get stuck. Because despite what you can see here now, I was quite a chubby child.
Was it named Kez after Kieran Cunningham?
No, it wasn't. It predated Kieran Cunningham, yeah. Predated. But it would be, it would look good on a corner at Saints Ground. I think it's gone now. I think it's just destroyed or whatever. But if it is still somewhere, that kid-eating snake, that would be an ace thing to put on a corner at Saints Ground, whatever Saints Ground is called at the moment.
Perfect content for Christmas, kid-eating snake.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
I reckon it is.
So, who was your favourite Saints coach?
Coach?
Yep.
Have I got to go for like success reasons or just like?
Who is your favourite Saints coach? It could be anybody. I just thought while you were on,
before it cuts us off, because you've got about a minute.
Yeah, I can see it. Don't worry.
We don't need an explanation.
Don't need to tell Phil.
Just tell us who your coach is.
Alex Murphy.
Lovely.
Mentioned again.
But that's mad.
No, it's great. It's great.
There was entertainment with Alex Murphy. You know what I mean? And we lost some games because of him, but you know what I mean? Just like out on the town before a big final. There's a million things wrong with him in terms of his coaching ability, but I don't know. It was fun. It was fun. And when he walked across the popular side and waved, and there were times as well where we're not playing well, and you could feel the groundswell on the popular side at Nosey Road going, good, and he'd walk faster. As he went to the tunnel, you could see it, like he had the weight of thousands of people going, get in there now and give them what for. And he would go faster towards the tunnel. It was really exciting. And everyone would cheer. It was really exciting.
Chaos is fun, isn't it? Yeah. Chaos is fun.
It is fun. Speaking of chaos, because it's less than a minute, I'm aware that behind the scenes at 4020, there's been some horrible things going on this year. And I wish to commend you both, particularly Richard as well, for this particular year. Commend you both on getting through this year. I think it's been astounding achievement given what the obstacles thrown your way, that you've still completed this season and as well as you have. Sincerely, I mean that.
Oh, you're very kind. I think we need to insert the words award nominated podcast.
Never mind awards. The achievement is doing it, and especially given the obstacles. This has been.
No, it's him.
Really.
It's him.
I know. This particular year it's him, but other years it's been other people. Yeah.
Next year we'll provide obstacles for other people. That's the idea.
I should hope so.
We're
going to get cut off.
Hello, Richard Shorett here from the 4020 Rugby League podcast. Now, do you like darts? What do you mean? No, everyone loves darts now. It's popular again. That lad who got to the world final and he wins stuff and he's from Warrington. Anyway, would you like some exclusive 4020 live darts flights? Of course you would. Even if you don't like darts, I'll throw them. They're a great memento of your favourite Rugby League podcast. What do you mean you prefer James Graham's? Anyway, all I want you to do to get hold of a set of darts flights, that's 3 of them because you have 3 darts, is make a donation to the Leeds Children's Heart Surgery Fund. I'll stick a link somewhere on the video. I'll put a QR code there. That'd be nice, wouldn't it? Send me your details via social media. You can find 4020 everywhere. You know where we are. And I will send you in the post a set of exclusive 4020 live darts flights, unless we run out, and then I'll order some more, and then they'll be slightly less exclusive. 4020 and darts at Christmas. What more could you want? Unless it's after Christmas, and then, just if you want some, just get in touch.